The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who really needs to get that hole fixed in his robe. Welcome, Jacob.
Jeez, man, you noticed?
We all noticed.
Sheesh, man, that's embarrassing.
I could almost say you lost your marbles when that tore.
But you let the cat out of the bag, man. Come on. Oh, well. Yay, Shira. Why, thank you. And let me use our co-host, a man who, let's be frank, be like he always wanted to go on Deep Space Nine. Welcome, Drew.
You know, usually we only pull these from the movie.
Yes.
But you know what? I'll go with that because I would have liked to go on Deep Space Nine. So today we are reviewing the movie The Polar Express and the Star Trek Lower Decks episodes, Reflections, and Hear All, Trust Nothing, aka the Deep Space Nine episode.
Yes.
That's how most people, I think, know it at this point.
Yes.
Jacob, how are you doing?
Man, I am doing very well. Me and my wonderful girlfriend, Ashley, we went to, because I teased it up on our last episode, that me and Ashley went to Bryan College Station to Santa's Wonderland for, I think it was last Saturday. And that was a interesting experience because for all my understanding, it was simply going to be trail rides and hay rides and all this good stuff. I didn't expect it to be a Western theme. Now, to my understanding, sometimes
It's Texas.
It is Texas. I agree with you. What I understand from talking with other people, sometimes they do change the theme, but that was interesting because you pull into the gate, instantly everyone's wearing cowboy hats. It's like interesting, but it was great. It was a lot of walking. It was fairly expensive. Thank you, Miss Colleen, for buying that as a early Christmas present for me and Ashley. But yeah, just be like I am. It was a lot of fun. I got to hang out with a cousin of mine. We met her in College Station. We had breakfast with her, and then we went to Costco. We went to Costco, which that's one of Ashley's favorite places to go. Go into Costco. I know I'm throwing all the stuff out, whatever. But yeah, that was fun. This week's been interesting. So far, we're at the end of the week, obviously, so we had to shift time period, our days and times in which we're recording, which now we're recording on Fridays, which is totally fine. And yeah, it's been pretty good. I'm looking forward to this weekend. Me and Ashley are going to do a horse-drawn carriage ride in Tyler and possibly go see It's a Wonderful Life in color in an old theater.
Ooh, color?
In color.
Really?
Yeah, it's the only time we could actually, arrange. It must be interesting to see the movie in color. Never seen it in color.
That movie's going to be better in black and white.
I would agree with you there.
It's how it's meant to be seen. But you know what? If that's the only way y'all could have gotten to see it,
exactly,
I get it.
And plus, in theater, be like that's just icing on the cake.
Right.
So yeah, that's how my weekends go. I've got a family Christmas coming up not this weekend, but next weekend, and then obviously we have Christmas the weekend after that. And yeah, Christmas is on Sunday this year, right?
Yes,
it is on Sunday. So that's all I've been doing. What have you been doing? What have you been doing?
Since I did not get to go to Bryan College Station, I actually got to go to our singles Christmas party.
Yeah, how did that go?
It went pretty well. We had a good time. There wasn't as many of us that are there as usual, though. Ironically,
two of us were out of town.
Well, yes, but even then we had a smaller number, I think, than usual. Though ironically, we did have 2 empty seats at our table at the restaurant, so we said those were yours.
Well, thank
Yours
you.
and Ashley's.
Including
That
us.
wasn't intended, but that's how it worked out.
That was hysterical.
So yeah, the present I brought, since you weren't there to see it, was a yodeling pickle.
Okay, explain that.
It is essentially a plastic pickle that you put batteries into, and when you press the button, it plays a yodel. And you want to know the funny part about this?
This is already funny, but continue.
It's been sitting right on the other side of this board since July.
Well, it was
hiding it from you so you wouldn't accidentally see it. But apparently, I didn't need to worry about that.
Apparently not.
And granted, when I started hiding, I didn't know you were going anywhere, and I don't think you or even Miss Colleen, when she bought you the tickets, knew exactly what weekend that was in comparison with all the other plans. So
but that's cool.
And I ended up getting a spider.
A spider.
It's a plastic one about the size of my hand.
Oh, fun.
I don't know why Hezi decided to wrap that up.
That sounds like Hezekiah.
But it was one of those things where I walked up to it and I saw one was wrapped in duct tape, fluorescent green duct tape. And I thought, someone's after my own heart, because I think I've wrapped gifts recently in duct tape. I didn't this time, but and so I open it up and go, that's a spider. Why? Okay, moving on. No one stole it from me, but my pickle did get froze out.
Oh, fun. That's always fun.
Yes. Don got it first.
Oh.
And then Nani stole it from him.
And then you stole it from her.
No, I didn't steal it. I don't have it.
Oh, that's right. You brought it. That's right.
Right.
I
can't remember.
Brain here, Jacob.
I can't remember the name of the lady who got it. The one that's got the cane. Can't think of her name.
I just saw her today. This is terrible. I apologize if you're listening.
Right. I don't know if she is, but she's the one who ended up with the pickle.
Got it.
And I had it even in a best made pickle jar.
Clevamon.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, Tuesday, our normal recording night.
Yes.
Our old recording night, I should say.
Yeah.
At 10 o'clock, I was on the Culture Box discussion thing that we had started doing, which I'm going to ask for your apology for I'm going to give you my apology now for not telling you about it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, you traitor.
I didn't mean to. It was one of those things where it slipped my mind to let you know we were doing this thing.
Right.
Because I think it rested in my mind as, I'm guest hosting somewhere. Jacob had told me I didn't need to worry about getting him involved in every guest up thing I'm in. True. So I think that's where it sat in my head.
Right.
And I forgot to tell you, despite the fact you had just as much fright of being there as I did. But yeah, we had a good discussion. I'm not sure where that ended up. I think I still need to download it to put it on our YouTube channel for my part, for our people. So when that becomes available, go take a look at that. We talked about a couple of interesting topics.
Nice.
But I'm sure by now it's on one of either Retros or Geek Devotions is one. But anyway, also, last Friday and Saturday was super busy because I also guested on another podcast.
Really?
Saturday morning. It was not a live recording. And the episode is not out yet. But I apparently... You remember how I mentioned last week I watched some Kamen Rider?
Yeah, you did.
I did that because I'm guest hosting for 5 episodes for the end of Henshin Men, which is, that one that Nathan of the Monster and Film Vault does.
Yes.
And I'm helping him finish that out by being his temp guest host for the last 5, not the last 5 episodes, because the last episode he is going to have the original co-host back on for, just as far as our knowledge is. But yeah.
Okay.
I get to talk about a 70s tokusatsu show that makes you go, what were these people on? No, it's not like that. It's Power Rangers with a less technology into the making of it.
Okay.
A lot more practical. I know that's weird talking about Mighty Morphin and it's not being practical, but there's a difference in the filmmaking from the 90s as there would be in the 70s.
Right.
And there is a difference.
Okay.
Anyway, it'll be a fun episode when that comes out, and I've got 4 more to do. I'm not sure when I'm recording those, but
gotcha.
I was on that, and I think that's about all of it. Other than I'm getting set up on another D&D session.
Nice.
Because I did not realize the group I was with before was going to continue, and by the time I did, I had already found another group. So we did a little bit of a session 0 to kind of get everything set up where we are, but that's going good. Other than that, I think that's about it. So Jacob, I got a question for you.
What have you been watching?
All right. So what I've been watching. So I have this tendency of watching reviews because I like watching movie reviews or watching movies in general. So I watched this certain, it's you pull up, right? Oliver Harper's retrospective reviews. It's on YouTube. You can go check him out. He does primarily like action movies from the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and it reviews modern films. And so I was just watching his stuff because I just really find his review very interesting and very insightful, because he dives deep into these film, like the production and like script and everything. And I just find it very fascinating. And he's a really, really good YouTuber. He's a really, really good YouTuber when it comes to reviewing films. So he started doing a review over a 90s film called Universal Soldier.
Okay.
And I remember hearing about this. It has Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren. In which, if you're a 90s kid, you probably heard of these two.
You've probably heard of the movie, even if you've never seen it.
Exactly. I'd never seen this movie before. So I watched the film. I watched his review of it, and I was like, you know what? Because he keeps talking about how Dolph Lundgren is this as an actor in this film. He like portrays him very well as a villain, and it's like, you know what? I have access to HBO Max. It's on HBO Max. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and watch this. And sure enough, be like, the movie is not very good. It isn't. I'll be honest. It's not. It's very much a 90s schlock movie, but it's directed by Emmerich. Come on, think.
Roland Emmerich.
It's directed by Roland Emmerich. It's one of his very early films.
Before all of his Emmericisms were in place.
Yeah. Well, it's not an end of the world disaster movie. So
with a cast of 1,000.
Yeah. So I watched it and I was like, you know what? This is not bad. Like Dolph Lundgren's performance as the villain is like, he's actually very good when he's a villain. It's good. He's got good comedic timing when it comes to it. And he's actually intimidating as besides like Masters of the Universe, where it's just like, seriously? Like, I understand, like, Dolph Lundgren became a better actor later on in life. But I think Universal Soldier was probably one of his best performances early on, definitely as a villain. And I think it would be more beneficial if he was a villain in more films. But like watching it, it was like, and then you have Jean-Claude Van Damme. This guy, oh my gosh, his performance was so wooden. But the way this is so interesting hearing myself feedback.
I'm not intending to do that.
I know this. I know you're not, but it's funny. But the way because in the movie itself, Jean-Claude Van Damme is a man. He has amnesia. He's learning who he was back, back in the day before he got put on ice, and he was dead and reprogrammed as a soldier, like a super soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And he's learning to be human again. And he doesn't talk a lot through this film, but he has some very interesting expressions when like there's one scene where they're in a cafe. This is obviously before a big fight breaks out. So he's sitting there and food's just getting piled and piled and piled. He's just gobbling away. And the waitress walks up. It's like, they're like, enjoyed it? Mm-hmm. They're like, how are you gonna eat it? And all it is scoop up some potato and keep eating. It was hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it's like some actors be like, they're not very good actors. I'm just gonna say that Jean-Claude Van Damme is not a very good actor. Now for some people like, hey, I'm here to listen or watch anime movies. Why are we ranting on and on about it? A live action movie. I'll get to that. But like, it was an interesting film.
This must have been the only film you watched this week.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
That's actually what was going through my mind.
So I finished watching it. It's a good schlocky, popcorn muncher kind of film. It's interesting. Dolph Lundgren's performance is, it is fun to watch. It is a fun, it's not a great movie, but it's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Roland Emmerich, the next film I watched was Stargate, which was, again, one of his early films. And that one, there again, I'd also watched Oliver's review on that. And I was like, that's interesting because I remember watching this as a kid. And it's a good story. It's a good story. It's got really good elements to it. And no wonder they turned it into a TV show, because this sucker was good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about 20. I was literally 20 minutes before the end of the movie, maybe like 15, before I had to come over here. So I'm planning on finishing it, but that was an interesting movie. That was fun. That was a fun movie. It had a good story, good beat, the whole enchilada. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So going into what I have listened to recently, so on the way to Santa's Wonderland in Bryan College Station, Ashley has been like, she's flipping through like what she's listened to podcast wise, and it's like most of it's true crime, which is not a shocker to anybody who knows Ashley. And then she turns on Pod Meets World. Are you familiar with this one?
No, but I can make a couple guesses what this show is about with a name like Pod Meets World.
Yeah. What do you think it's about?
A certain show that aired on TGIF back in the 90s, and it's possible Disney Channel sequel.
Yeah. Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
So it has three of the original actors, actors who have gone on to do more things, including one who
Girl Meets World.
Girl Meets World, and also one who voiced the bat, voiced the cat, and a bunch of other stuff. Or Batman and Beyond, but nuance. So we listened to like one episode. It was like episode 20, 22, whatever. But that was interesting. It's very interesting. It's wonderful to hear insight from an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely if they were a child actor back then, because they were like 12 years old when they were cast for Boy Meets World back in 1993, I think. But it was so insightful listening to them talk about, what happened behind the scenes and their recollections, and it's like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it was so much fun. Well, we listened to like 2 episodes, and it's like, you know what? I didn't get around to this week, but the plan is I'm going to start watching Boy Meets World on Disney Plus. That's where it is, because obviously, and just start from episode 1 pilot to its completion, which I think it's like 7 episodes or 7.
It's more than 7 episodes.
No, it's more than 7 episodes. It actually got picked up more and more. That's why it's a popular series.
They had to keep finding excuses to keep Mr. Feeney involved.
That is true. Oh, Mr. Feeney. But yeah, I'd be like, it's good if you are a fan of Boy Meets World. You get to hear very colorful insight or colorful commentary from original actors from the show, and they bring on special guests. And they actually bring on the actor who played Mr. Feeney at one point, which I haven't got to yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So other than like a negotiation podcast she listens to, which was very interesting. I can't remember what it was, but I'll bring it back. If I remember to, I will bring it up next week so that you guys who love to listen to podcasts, there's another podcast for you. So Pod Meets World. The one with 3 hosts instead of just one, because apparently there are 2 of these out there with the exact same logo. I don't know how they did this.
Well, I mean, if they're basing it off of the original show's logo,
It's not hard.
I can see.
Yeah. But that is all I've been watching and listening to. What about you, Drew?
Well, along with the newest episodes of Spy Family, which finally we're getting back to some goodness, some actual. So what I figured out is I actually read some of the some more of the manga since then, is that of the manga, books 1 through 4 are pretty much all based around arcs. Whereas book 5, you kind of get the feeling that the author may have been not entirely sure where he was going next with the story.
That could happen.
So he has like every single one of the chapters in that one is like little short stories about to get them from, where they were to where they decided to go. And that took up about 5 episodes of the anime.
Okay.
And all those 5 episodes had these A stories and B stories that they just literally is like, how on Cartoon Network they have 2 episodes in 1 episode.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what they did here, except they were both labeled as, whatever their main episode number was. So, and that was true up until this last episode where they finally got back into the full episode being a arc of the last 2 episodes where they finally started getting into an arc in the story.
Okay.
And this is dealing with a woman who works for the same spy group as Twilight does. Lloyd.
Yeah.
Who may have been too busy when the time came to actually be able to, with her own missions, to be able to take over as Lloyd's wife for Operation Strix, the actual spy mission, the long range spy mission that Lloyd is on, that caused him to have to get Anya and Yor, and she has one heck of a crush on Twilight. And so she is trying to prove her love, and she is a much worthy person to play his wife than Yor is, by getting involved a little too much.
Okay.
And they got paired together on this last episode with a mission to take down. They were trying to find a piece of artwork that had some information that was stored in it that if it came to light would have caused the war to break back out again, basically.
Gotcha.
And the only way they can get it, which by the way, this arc will finish, we'll keep going after this episode. They had to get involved in and I'm not kidding with this term, underground tennis tournament.
Interesting.
Because betting is apparently illegal in Estonia, and that is apparently the sport of choice in betting is tennis. Of all things. And I like how their cover names for this mission, their last name was Phony. So they were Mr. and Mrs. Phony.
Interesting.
Which was funny to me. But yeah, it was a fun episode. Do highly suggest that. I did try another episode of a show called I'm the Villainous, so I'm Taming the Final Boss at the suggestion of my good buddy Chase.
Oh.
It is an isekai show,
Mm-hmm.
and it follows, but it's actually got a lot of heart to it, believe it or not.
Really?
So I'm going to continue trying to watch it because I think it's kind of fun. And outside of the stuff for the show tonight, the only other things I've watched this week is the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Huh.
Which was a 1960s era sci-fi comedy
Okay.
movie that was done on the cheap,
Okay.
the super cheap.
Mm.
It's not a very good movie.
Okay.
But what brought it to mind is that it was in this Star Wars holiday, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh, okay.
Which is what made me think of it and made look at me as oh, it's free on Amazon Prime. The Mystery Science Theater episode where they riff on it. I'll give that a shot. And I finished it. It's a fun little movie. But other than that, and a couple of YouTube things here and there, that's about all I've watched.
Oh, okay.
But I did start up a new game.
What is it?
Pokemon Violet.
Oh, okay. Isn't that one of the new ones?
Is the one that came out like within the last month.
Okay, yeah.
And if you've been hearing the reports of the performance issues with the game, I can verify them. There are performance issues. There is. Let me put it to you this way: one of the new gimmicks in this one is that you can do what they call testralizing on your Pokemon, which causes you can only do it like once per trip to the Pokemon Center to heal, and it pretty much puts this kind of crystalline effect on your Pokemon, and you get to do this. All your attacks get like a very big boost.
Okay,
pretty much. The problem is when you do this effect, when you do this at night against another Pokemon that's doing the same effect, the screen looks like it's having issues. You know how if you see a really bad like on these new digital televisions when they start glitching out and sometimes things will hang weird and like you ever seen a broken TV?
Yeah.
The broken flat screens when people threw their Wii remote at the screen or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of looks like, but not completely. Because it looks like it's messing up kind of that much, but it's just because of how this effect is combined. These two different effects are affecting each other, plus the grass in front of you that's been slightly faded to make it easier to see what you're doing, which also gives it kind of a checkerboardish transparent effect.
Got it.
All of those three things combined make your screen look like hot garbage. Pokemon needs to fix their stuff.
Which they're probably going to put a patch in at some point.
That's the thing. They put in a patch on December 1st. It did not fix the problems.
Ooh.
All it did was they made sure some stuff would work on the tournaments that they were setting up.
Come on.
It started
Nintendo.
season 1 of their tournaments.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's another thing it is because the wave 3 of the Mario Kart 8 booster course packs released this week. And we got a surprise in that even if you don't have the booster course pass thing, everyone got a patch to put in a new feature. The first new feature they've implemented in this game, and besides the new courses, obviously, in the last 3 years. They allow you to actually, in multiplayer versus races, you can actually pick what items will show up in the item boxes.
Okay.
So previously you can just do the classic set or frantic, which would make like the really good items kind of show up more often in the higher ranks. Now you can just pick whatever you want, including, if you are weird like me, all blue shells.
Oh, yeah.
Let me put it to you this way. 200cc, Baby Park, blue shell only. That is a special kind of chaos. Because half the time you don't even really know if you're in first normally because of how short the track is and how chaotic it is, you have to keep, the only way you know you're in first is by looking at the placement number there on the bottom of your screen. But when you're in the middle of a race, you're too busy trying to do that. So the only way now you know if you're in first place is if you're getting constantly pummeled with blue shells. It was, believe it or not, fun, but it was fun in the way it's like, I'm never going to win and I don't care. I'm just kind of letting it go and having fun at this point. And I was just playing by myself.
Okay.
It was, because after a while, you know, you get hit by 2 or 3 of these things, all of a sudden you've got invincibility frames for a couple minutes because they're trying to be fair to you so you can maybe get moving again. And it's still pummeling you over and over again.
Nice.
Until someone else finally moves into first place, and then they start pummeling that one. Because that's all anyone's getting is blue shells. And they fight, and the way the AI is set up, they fire them as soon as they get them. I still need to do this in a live setting.
Yes.
But yeah.
We might have to do that someday on our Twitch Sunday.
Maybe.
That would be fun.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been watching and playing.
All right.
So yeah. What do we got in the news?
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you, D-Lit. And today's news, there's not a whole lot of news today or this week. We know that Disney's Strange World is doing terrible in theaters.
Which pretty much means we're not going to watch it until it's out on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is projected to do under, I think right now it's like 45 million dollars in 12 days. That is terrible. And experts are projecting this is a downward trend for Disney. Like, I even read one article where it was Universal is beating Disney. Like, Disney is losing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue because their movies are tanking. And
that's what happens when you focus on speechifying and lecturing instead of story.
Exactly.
Story has to be first.
Exactly. I think Disney is kind of strayed away from what I'm not gonna say like what would do.
Yeah.
But what Disney was doing in the 90s and the early to mid 2000s with movies that were story driven, and now they're trying to just more push agendas and that kind of stuff. And their movies are not doing well in theaters right now. And so either Disney has to do a course correction, or B, they're going to get their animation department's going to sink.
Yeah. Just bear in mind, they didn't put stuff out in theaters like Turning Red because assumingly they didn't know how well it was going to perform.
Yeah.
But they put this out.
Yeah.
Apparently not caring how it was going to perform, because I know they knew it was not going to be it wasn't going to be perceived well, because let's face it, we didn't hear anything about this movie at all until July of this year.
Pretty much.
And then no actual pushing of this movie.
Yeah, they actually,
I didn't even see when it came out.
Yeah, because it'd be like, you listen to our show quite a bit, and so we have gone on the rant about how they've treated Pixar, because Pixar, they've had 3 films that did not go to theaters. They put Lightyear in theaters,
and it tanked.
It tanked, and then you have Strange World, which is tanking again.
But at the same time, Disney did put out Raya and the Last Dragon, which we liked.
Yeah, we liked. It didn't do well in theaters.
Right, but we liked. And they put out Encanto, which everyone liked.
Yeah, everybody loved Encanto.
But Pixar, between Onward and Lightyear, had Soul, Luca, and Turning Red come out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they should have gone. Granted, Soul couldn't have. That was just the wrong time for anything really to get put into theaters.
Yeah, that was the middle of the pandemic.
Luca was a weird kind of movie that may probably not have done well in theaters at the time.
Possibly.
Granted, Turning Red, I think, would not have been Frozen levels of break
That's
the
the
bank,
thing,
but I
yeah.
think it would have done pretty well in theaters.
Yeah.
For what it was. It would have certainly done better than stuff like The Good Dinosaur, which, despite it being that being a movie I like,
Yeah.
I know this didn't perform well.
Right.
They kind of skipped over those for different reasons, but then they put out something like this. Admittedly, we're past the pandemic for the most part. We're not, it doesn't look like we're heading near any lockdowns at any time.
Right.
The theaters have finally fully rebounded back from what they were, back in 2020.
Amen to that.
And not everything Disney is going to put out is going to be gold any more than everything DreamWorks is going to put out is gold, or Illumination, or whomever.
Yeah.
But I do have to wonder if what they were thinking, putting out something when they knew this was going to be bad, why go ahead and put it in theaters? Because at this point, unless they have some deal now with the movie theater companies that has not been broadcast to everybody, it would make more sense for this to have gone straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And they put it out in theaters to let it tank in public.
That's possible. But
I don't know. And like I said, I assume they may have a deal to try to help ease theater owners' fears so that they'll know that they're still getting movies out. But I don't know.
But there again, be like, we're looking at an era where in 2020, the pandemic came around and shut down theaters.
Yeah.
And then you have the birth of the streaming platforms, or what's
the idea of day and date.
Huh?
Yeah, day and date streaming.
Yeah, day and date streaming.
Which now they're trying to get back off of after Warner, because of how much trouble Warner Brothers got in.
True.
Which did not help HBO Max's numbers.
No.
Which is probably why they're canceling everything again.
But it seems like Disney is on a downward spiral when it comes to their animated theatrical releases, and experts are saying that they need to do a course correct. They need to possibly go back to more of their roots when it comes to storytelling, and
as in actually do storytelling.
Yeah. Which there again, I have not seen.
I hadn't seen it yet.
We haven't seen it yet. So
I only barely know what it's about.
Yeah. And I'd be like, honestly, political people are tearing this movie left and right, but whoever.
We don't bring up politics here because we believe that politics is made up of two words: poly meaning many, and ticks being blood-sucking creatures.
Sure.
And they just suck the fun. Politics just sucks the fun out of everything.
Exactly.
So,
and plus half the time these people don't watch the movie anyway. So there.
Exactly. But either way, Strange World is stinking. That stinks. Let's move on.
Exactly. So far as I understand, that's all I have in the news, unless you know.
Oh, you forgot something that happened last night.
Oh yeah, the Gaming Awards.
Yes,
the Gaming Awards.
The Game Awards were last night, and at about the 3/4 mark of the Gaming Awards, they had Keegan-Michael Key, who's playing Toad in the movie, come out and introduce this segment, and it is a scene from the movie of Mario. He's either coming to the Mushroom Kingdom for the first time, or either way, Toad is bringing him through the Mushroom Kingdom to get to the princess's castle to meet with her for, at the moment, reasons unknown.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we get this. We do actually get some lines from Chris Pratt as Mario,
which honestly, to me, I think he sounds really good.
He is sounding better, and he is still definitely using more of a Chris Pratt voice than what Charles Martinet was doing.
Right.
Granted, but I do think he is sounding better. I did like, though, a ton of the stuff that you see in the background.
All the Easter eggs.
All the Easter eggs. If you want to see all the Easter eggs, Game Explain has a video where they hit every single one of them. But they had, like, at one point they go past an antique shop.
Yeah.
And you can see like the dragon coins from Super Mario World.
Oh,
different power-ups from like Super Mario 3, and different things of that, like that. He uses a clear pipe from Super Mario 3D World. You can actually see a Crazy Cap shop from Super Mario Odyssey in there. they are pulling out all the stops with this.
I got you. So just before that, be like, go watch the trailer
Yeah.
first, and then go watch, people go and dissect these things beyond belief.
Definitely go watch
a greater understanding.
Definitely go watch the scene. It's good, but yeah,
it's fun.
There's a lot of cool little things in there, and I am more and more liking what I am seeing.
I
Now,
do too.
Granted, till we actually see the movie, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
But I am liking more and more what I'm seeing here. I actually feel more comfortable with this than I think I was comfortable with Sonic the Hedgehog when it was coming out.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Because admittedly, with Sonic the Hedgehog, I was slightly worried what they were going to do with his model after that very first trailer.
Oh gosh, yeah, cringy Sonic.
And at that point, I was just like, I just need to see this in a theater once they get it fixed, and I don't need to watch any of the rest of it. And Sonic pulled it out with Sonic.
Yeah,
Mario, I'm feeling a lot better about it because every performance we've heard so far, I've liked. They are, while there are some changes to the plot, you have to remember this is Mario. There is no continuity.
That's right. And plus, it's an adaptation.
And it's an adaptation, and it's not got a big continuity to adapt from because every game is different. They literally make the game, make changes to the universe to fit whatever game they're making this time. So the fact that we're even getting references to this past stuff is a gift in and of itself. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing more of the score for this because we did get a nice little bit of the Super Mario Brothers theme.
Yeah, we did
in this, played by an orchestra, which sounded good.
It did sound good.
So yeah,
there again, be like for those to be like, it's like, well, like I know I have a relative who doesn't like watching trailers because it's a spoiler, but be like, there's also people out there be like, oh, I just want to listen to people's commentary. No, go watch the trailer for yourself. Go watch the trailers. Build your own opinion first, and then go like listen to everybody's opinion. That's my opinion. That's my objection when it comes to trailers.
Well, I think mine and your belief period is you need to form your own opinion about whatever it is you're looking at, and then listen to people's reviews.
Yeah, and then you have your own insight, right? And that's like, and you can join the conversation about things.
We should always be in the second part of the process because the first part is watching what we're talking about. Now, if you don't want to and you don't care, that's your business, but you don't get to complain when we say stuff you disagree with because you didn't watch it. How would you know?
Exactly.
Anyway,
and there again, I guarantee I'm fairly certain there's people out there who probably listen to us simply because they're like, hey, I want to listen to a fun time, or B, I want to listen to somebody talk about a movie that I might be interested in.
Right, which is why we have the spoiler-free section, which we'll be getting into in a minute.
Exactly.
So shall we make that transition?
Exactly. Let's hop in a pipe and go to the next section.
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
This is my third viewing, I believe, of the Polar Express.
Really?
The first time I saw it would have been around 2004, 2005, because I did first see it on DVD, not in a theater. So I think it was closer to 2005. May have been 2006, actually, for all I know. But I know I saw it again like in 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And then this viewing. So I actually do like this movie. I have there are some technical hiccups that I did not understand what actually caused them until I was researching for our episode.
Yeah.
Because before I would have thrown it into Uncanny Valley territory and just let it go at that.
Yeah.
Which all Uncanny territory means is that part where either the movements are too good for the style of the characters or the characters are too realistic for the movement, the animation they're getting.
Yeah.
It's that little mishmash there. And I'll explain more of that when we get into trivia for this movie. But now that I have done the research, I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense as to what's actually causing the issues.
Yeah.
But when this movie is actively showing, like, obviously scenes from the picture book, but in animation with
Yeah.
in movement.
Mhm.
It is downright gorgeous.
It is. Agreed.
And it's got a good story in there. I think that you can actually I think it could be an allegory for salvation
I agree with
in a way.
yes.
But other than that, it's a good movie. It's a fun movie. I think Tom Hanks has too many roles. But besides that, it's a good movie.
Tom Hanks is a legend, but he has way too many roles in this movie. Oh my god!
And also, I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
This is my first viewing of this film. I have heard of the Polar Express, and I've heard people say, "Don't watch this movie. This is a terrible movie." Be like, it goes way too in the uncanny valley, and I can definitely see their viewpoint after watching this. Watching this was like some points I'm like, oh dear Lord in heaven, this is cringy. But I enjoy the story for what it is. I think there's a little bit of a problem when it comes to the third act.
Mm-hmm.
There are very good points. Like there's parts of the animation where it is just so gorgeous, so incredibly good, and then it turns and does something with the character. I'm like, yeesh, okay, enough with that, please, let's do something else.
I'm looking forward to hearing what that is here in a minute.
But excuse me, cough going around. Either or. I enjoyed this movie for what it was. Yeah, I'll just go there. Be like, I enjoyed the movie for what it was.
All right. Well, then we need to jump into the spoilers for this thing, which we'll do right on the other side of these words from our sponsors. Is that what I call this?
Mm-hmm.
Intermission, either
Intermission.
way.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Stunning and Brave, where each week hosts Chris Cowan of the Babylon Bee and Nate Henderson of Some Boring Budgeting Job confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right.
You have no choice.
Check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Josh Adams, Ashley Ruiz, Book of Gaming.
To get your name on the show,
And
plus
pauljpowers.com.
uncut episodes, early access to the Cellcast Plus reviews, and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie The Polar Express. Listener discretion is advised. Before I get too far into this, IMDb, you need to clean up your page on The Polar Express. Because if you go to IMDb's full cast list for The Polar Express, it is next to impossible to figure out who is doing the acting, the voice acting, who is doing the motion capture, who is doing additional motion capture, and who's doing singing voices, because they don't differentiate on the thing.
Wow, you're not kidding.
I had to use Wikipedia to figure out who was doing what job, which was real fun with one of our characters because it listed a different actress than IMDb did.
Really?
And I still don't know which one was which. So I had to just pick one.
Huh.
So let's go ahead and get into that.
Yeah, let's do that.
The Polar Express was written and directed by Robert Zemeckis, who also directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the Back to the Future trilogy. It's also written by William Broyles Jr., who wrote Apollo 13 and Castaway. And it is based on the book by Chris Van Allsburg. Do you know what other books that have been made into movies that he's written?
No. What?
Zathura.
Okay.
And Jumanji.
Oh, interesting.
Just to put that out there.
I got you.
getting into the cast, the voice of Hero Boy.
Really? That's what they call him?
Oh, wait till you hear the rest of these cast names.
Yeah, I've seen some of them. It's like, what in the world?
But the voice of Cast Boy is Daryl Sabara,
Mm-hmm.
who played Junie Cortez in Spy Kids,
Okay.
the younger brother,
That's right. That's what I thought.
where Tom Hanks did the motion capture for Hero Boy.
Really?
Yeah, because the original plan for this was that Tom Hanks would do the motion capture and voice work for every character.
Okay.
Actually, I may be wrong on the voice work because of the one or two females in the cast.
Yeah.
But that was the original plan, was for him to do all the voices too, but definitely do all the motion capture. And this is the only one he did just motion capture for.
Really?
Yes. Because he was also the voice and motion capture for Father, the Conductor, Hobo, the voice of the Scrooge, actually the Scrooge Marionette, and Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Scrooge Marionette was motion captured despite the fact he was being controlled by the Hobo.
That, yeah. Go for it.
And he played Sheriff Woody Pride in Toy Story.
Of course.
Nona Gay was Hero Girl, and she played Z in The Matrix Reloaded. There are a couple other people involved with Hero Girl's performance, but because of the aforementioned strangeness between IMDb and Wikipedia, it was hard to determine who was who. So my apologies to the actresses I did not include. Leslie Zemeckis played Sister Sarah and the mother, and in the quote-unquote animated movie Beowulf,
Yeah.
you know, the one from like 2005,
Which came out around another
Around
year
this-
after this one.
yeah, and was the first digital live action hybrid.
Yeah.
She played a character named Ursa in that movie. I'm probably going to put Beowulf on next year
Okay.
because we need to get it out of the way.
That is true.
Because I don't think it's bad enough to be a bad movie month movie, but it does need to be. We do need to get it out, get it done with. Eddie Deason was the voice of Know It All. He was most famous to me for playing Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory on Cartoon Network.
Gotcha.
You probably know him better as Ned in Kim Possible.
Oh, that's where I recognize his voice from.
But you'll also recognize him as a character from War Games.
That
He's one of the nerds that they go and talk to there when they're trying to figure out who they accidentally called.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And his character's name was Malvin.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Jimmy Bennett, who was the voice of Billy the Lonely Boy, Billy being the only character's name besides his sister, only character on the train who got a name, by the way.
That's right, because they never got names.
Yeah.
Which was weird.
He played young James T. Kirk in Star Trek 2009.
Oh, yeah.
The motion capture for him, though, was by Peter Scolari, who played Wayne Selinsky in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show.
Wait, there was a TV show?
Yes. And it was after, what's his name? The actor who played Wayne Selinsky. He's also he's
in Ghostbusters.
The guy in Ghostbusters. He's Dark Helmet and Spaceballs.
Oh,
him.
Yeah.
Who just recently got back into acting now that his kids are grown.
Mm-hmm.
Feel horrible not remembering this guy's name.
Yeah, I probably audience
that was
that was like, this guy's name. What are you thinking?
This was after he retired.
Yeah,
that show happened.
Oh, okay.
Andre. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Michael Jeter, who was the voice and the motion capture for the characters of Smokey and Steamer. Those were the drivers of the train, the engineer and his assistant.
That was weird.
He was also played Percy in the movie Open Range.
Okay.
And this was his final performance.
Oh, okay.
As he died after making it.
He died before the movie was finished.
Yes. Which is why Andre Saw Gluzzo did additional Smokey and Steamer voices when they needed it. And he played Sideswipe in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Last but not least, we have Steven Tyler, the rock star.
Oh my gosh, that cameo
as an elf singer.
Oh,
Elf singer.
Oh, geez.
Did you know he was in Epic?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
I remember that.
He played Nim Galoo.
Yeah. That was a far better performance than this.
That's because you can't blame this performance on Steve Tyler because his singing was fine.
Oh yeah, I agree.
The song was fine. The animation makes you go,
oh my gosh.
That was the worst character model in the whole movie. And and that's because all the elves looked like horrible, strange abominations anyway in this movie. And then Steven Tyler's character having a real face on him made it even worse.
Oh my gosh.
Kingdom Hearts connections.
Really?
Yes. Jimmy Bennett, who was the voice of Billy the Lonely Boy, in Kingdom Hearts, he voices Rue, the baby kangaroo, not baby, the kid kangaroo in the Winnie the Pooh levels.
Yeah. Okay.
And Andres Sogluzo, who was the additional voices of Smokey and Steamer, he played a deep space patrolman in Kingdom Hearts during the Stitch level.
Yeah.
On Birth by Sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what I've got in cast list. So what do we got in info and stuff?
All right. IMDb. It has a 6.6 out of 10. You can be able to watch it on HBO Max. Production. There's quite a few production houses going on here.
Part of the problem.
Yeah, it's true. Castle Rock Entertainment, Shingir Lee Entertainment, Image Movers, Playtone, and Golden Means Productions.
In other words, all the production companies related to people who are heavily involved in the making of this film.
True.
Because they all have their own production companies, including Tom Hanks. Fun.
Yeah, always fun. Too many hands in the pot.
Part of the issues.
Exactly. Distributed by Warner Brothers. You know what? I forgot one part of it, but originally it was released on October 13th, 2004 at the Chicago International Film Festival. It opened in the United States, Canada on November 14th of the same year. So it had an estimated budget of $165 million. There again, 2004. This was the era which be like there again, like Drew said earlier, Beowulf would come out a year later, and this was like this was the real push of motion capture in animation after Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Once Andy Serkis really pushed that. Agreed. But
there are differences though in how Gollum's animation was done versus this, but we'll get to that.
Agreed. So its opening weekend, it made only $32.4 million that first weekend. Not so hot. Its US gross in Canada was $188.9 million. Not very good domestically. Worldwide, it did better with $351.2 million globally. So it made its money back. Kind of. So home release, the film was released.
It probably made more of its money back with all the licensing deals to scenic railroads to turn their trains into Polar Expresses every year.
That is true. Very, very true. All right, so home release. The film was released on DVD as separate widescreen and full screen version. There again, that was that time period they would do that. In single and 2-disc special editions with bonus, and on DVD on VHS in 2005.
That would make this one of the last big VHS releases.
And it was that same that same time period that they were doing 3D conversions.
Yeah. And you can tell this was shot for this was intended to be seen in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
And IMAX.
Yes, definitely IMAX. I could see that. Because I remember like seeing this and be like, this would be kind of fun to watch in theaters. And there's a part of me that thank the Lord I didn't.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to that, it came on VHS on November 22nd, 2005. 1 year later, the film originally came out in theaters, which is weird. They put it out a year later on VHS when they had it on DVD. Weird.
Not really that weird. Like you said, this was 2005.
True. It was
the
2005.
VHS was just at this point finally falling off.
Yeah, because
DVD was really starting to replace it.
Yeah,
I remember because I visited the Christmas of 2000, either 2000 or 2001. I don't remember which. We had Christmas at my cousin's house. They had just got a DVD player and were showing off showing off episode 1 of Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
On it. I'm thinking, yeah, this looks cool, but I mean, at the time I was thinking this doesn't look that much better than VHS other than it looks cleaner. Of course, that was because last time I'd watched the VHS of episode 1 was like when that VHS was still new and hadn't been worn out.
Yeah. Problem with VHS, they wore out.
Right.
So,
So yeah, VHS probably did not really go away until like 2006, 2007, I think.
True. That's very true. But also in 2000, I believe it was in 2007, they released it on the original widescreen. Or hold on, back up. It was released on HD DVD. That was the thing back then.
Yeah, because then now you're getting into the format war between HD DVD and Blu-ray.
Right. Yeah, exactly. With bonus features in 2006 and Blu-ray with bonus features a year later in 2007.
Because 2006, Warner Brothers was full on the HD DVD train, where everyone else was on Blu-ray, and Warner Brothers was one of, I believe, the last of the major studios to make the switch. To Blu-ray.
Yeah,
which killed HD DVD.
Let's see. Both were presented in the original widescreen aspect ratio. It was again re-released on 3D Blu-ray and DVD October 2008, labeled The Polar Express presented in 3D. Yeah, remember those people? Those were interesting times.
Was this actually in theaters though in 3D?
I think so.
Because it looks like it was made for 3D, but it doesn't fit with my timetable of 3D. But then I don't remember when Avatar was.
That's a good question.
Really what pushed 3D in the theater.
That is true. And with Avatar 2 coming out, yeah,
it's what got everyone to actually get real 3D in there.
Yeah.
So I will look that up.
And the film was released on Blu-ray 3D on November 16th, 2010. So that is all I have for info and stuff.
Oh, it was released in IMAX 3D. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
So IMAX did have 3D,
That's
but
right,
the real D3D hadn't made it to the regular digital projectors yet, because a lot of places still didn't have digital projectors yet.
True.
And that wouldn't be until Avatar, which was 2009.
2009. Okay.
Because when the original Avatar came out.
Yeah.
Okay, that fixes that problem. So, yeah. Info and we just finished info and stuff, so now we need to get into the summary. On Christmas Eve, a passenger train known as the Polar Express stops at the Grand Rapids, Michigan house of a boy who is growing skeptical about the existence of Santa Claus. The conductor says the train is traveling to the North Pole, and the boy, although reluctant at first, climbs aboard and meets a spirited girl and a know-it-all boy. The train then stops to pick up a boy named Billy, who initially declines to board, but changes his mind as the train is leaving. The boy applies the emergency brake and Billy is allowed on, but opts to sit alone in the observation car. The children are then served hot chocolate by a platoon of waiters, and the girl saves a cup for Billy. When the conductor and the girl go to give Billy his cup, the boy notices that the girl's ticket has not yet been validated. The wind blows out the ticket into the wilderness, but soon finds its way back on into the train after the girl discovers that her ticket is missing. The conductor leaves with her. The boy finds the ticket and traverses the rooftops of the train, where he encounters a mysterious ghostly hobo that helps him reach the engine. The boy finds that the girl has been put in charge, while the engineer and firemen are replacing the engine's headlight while the train is moving. I don't think that's how that works. No. As the train continues, it moves at an extreme speed due to the cotter pins shearing off. Once they reach a frozen lake, the cotter pin is replaced, and the driver narrowly gets the train back onto the tracks as the ice breaks. The conductor takes the boy and girl back to their seats, and they join Billy in the observation car. The train arrives at the North Pole, where the conductor announces that one of the children will be chosen to receive the first gift of Christmas from Santa himself. While the girl and boy are trying to convince Billy to join them, the boy accidentally uncouples the car, sending it hurtling along a route towards a railway turntable deep inside Santa's workshop. The children make their way through an elf command center and gift sorting office facility, where Billy finds a present with his name on it. They are dumped into a giant sack of presents, where they also find the know-it-all boy. After the sack is loaded onto Santa's sleigh, the elves escort them out before Santa and his reindeer arrive. A bell flies loose from the galloping reindeer's reins. The boy initially cannot hear it ring until he finds it within himself to believe. He returns the bell to Santa, who selects him to receive the first gift of Christmas. Santa agrees to let him keep the bell, and the boy places it in his robe pocket. As the children board to go home, the boy discovers that he has lost the bell through a hole in his pocket. The boy arrives home, and the conductor wishes him a Merry Christmas. He awakens on Christmas morning to find a present containing the lost bell with a note from Santa. He and his younger sister Sarah joyfully ring the bell, but their parents do not hear it because they do not believe in Santa. The boy reflects on his friends and sister eventually growing deaf to the bell over the years as their belief faded. However, despite the fact that he is now an adult, the bell still rings for him, as it does for all who truly believe. Getting into the trivia for this one. The film is listed in the 2006 Guinness Book of World Records as the first all-digital capture film, where all acted parts were done in digital capture, aka motion capture. In the North Pole City Communications Room, an elf describing the bad little boy in New Jersey named Stephen, who is terrorizing his two little sisters. This line is a nod to Robert Zemeckis' friend and mentor, Steven Spielberg. Spielberg grew up in New Jersey and has admitted many times that he frequently terrorized his two younger sisters. Before Hero Boy boards the Polar Express, the clock says it's 11:55. The time does not change until the first gift of Christmas is given near the end of the film. However, for a little bit of fun side trivia, when they're riding in the sack and the know-it-all boy says, of course it's 11:55. It's been 11:55 for the past hour. If you actually pause the film, you'll see that the film is nearly at an hour in length at that point. Interesting. Good timing. I have no idea if that was intended, but I like that you went there. When the engineer and firemen are trying to grab the pin necessary for the train's throttle, a working flux capacitor is visible in the background. Yes! It's a reference to Back to the Future and could mean the Polar Express is actually a functioning time machine.
Or it could have been directed by Robert Zemeckis.
How do you know that's not the same train that Doc Brown was flying around in at the end of Back to the Future 3? Despite the fact it didn't look like that train.
No, it didn't. It did not.
An engine, I should say.
Yes.
3 different actors play the role of Hero Boy. Tom Hanks does the motion capture and adult voice. Daryl Sabara does the voice acting, and Josh Hutcherson does additional motion capturing. Hero Boy's real name is never mentioned. However, according to books containing information about the Polar Express, including art books and fact books, Hero Boy's name is Chris.
Chris, okay.
After the author's novel, Chris Van Allsburg. The film used 3D motion capture techniques to digitally record the actors' physical performances before skinning them with their animated forms. The children's roles were acted by adults using oversized props to get the movement right.
Makes sense.
A close examination of the ticket numbers reveals they all contain the numbers 1225. Paray Marquette number 1225 was used as a model for the Polar Express locomotive. 1225 is a reference to the date of Christmas, December 25th. The soldier doll that Hero Boy plays with on Christmas morning is part of the recycled toy program that the conductor mentions. The same toy appears as a puppet in the background of the scene with the Scrooge puppet. The address spoken by the conductor early in the film, 11344 Edbrook, is the real address of Robert Zemeckis' childhood house. The house is in a South Side Chicago neighborhood called Roseland. At the end, Santa's reflection is faintly visible in the sleigh bell for a few seconds in close-up after Hero Boy places the bell on the table. It is very hard to see, but I did notice it. Billy is the only person aboard the Polar Express, passenger or crew member, who is identified by name. Several reviews called the motion capture animation creepy. In the 1978 book Robots, Fact, Fiction, and Prediction, Masahiro Mori coined the term uncanny valley to describe the revulsion that people can feel when they encounter a robot that looks human enough but is not clearly alive, which is where that term comes from. After the Hero Boy places the bell in his pocket, the torn pocket, a subtle sound can be heard of the bell hitting the floor of the sleigh. This is telling before the boy returns to the train he didn't have the bell and where it was before he received it on Christmas morning. So, yeah. What is your first like for this?
My first like. Well, for anybody who's listened to this podcast for any duration of time, this is one of my favorite films of all time is Back to the Future.
Why I made sure to mention it.
Exactly. I absolutely love
because
that.
If I didn't, you would have.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's my first like too. So
this is not Back to the Future.
I know it is. I know it isn't. But this scene, I watched the scene. I'm like, wait a minute.
This takes place in 1950, so there's not even like a DeLorean they could have put anywhere.
The first movie goes back to 1955.
And they are nowhere near California at any point in this movie.
Anyways, let me get to my reference, please. Thank you very much. All right, so when Hero Boy and Hero Girl,
I hate those names, by the way.
It's so annoying. It's like, give them names, please.
Steven and Becky. How's
Steven
that?
and Becky.
See,
Okay,
look
Steven
how hard
and
that was. We already know the other character. No, sorry, Chris.
Chris, that's right. His name
is supposed to be Chris. So Chris and Becky.
Chris and Becky. When
that
Chris
is their
and
names
Becky
now.
Are in the locomotive. The what is it? The front of the
engine.
Train. Huh?
Well, it's a locomotive, but
yeah,
yes.
the engine, and be like, oh, here, and be like, and so Chris, his name Chris.
Yes, that's what we're calling him now.
We're calling him Chris. So Chris be like, he pulls the whistle, and just to quote what he said, I've always wanted to do that my whole life. That's a quote from Back to the Future 3, which Doc Brown says himself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a Back to the Future reference. And then it gets better is when that pin is pulled and you get this big turnaround of that the locomotive in the operating room. Be like, you see a freaking flood capacitor.
Despite the fact there's no electricity on this.
No, there's not.
In this
like,
engine.
you see it for a fraction. Like, oh my gosh, did I see what I think it's all? It was like, huh, this is so awesome. But just to me, the Back to the Future nerd that I am, I'd be like, I heard Chris say that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a Robert Zemeckis movie, and you have oh come on, who did the orchestra for this film?
Oh, you would ask that.
Silverson.
I know Alan Silvestri did a lot of them.
Yes. because there are so many scores throughout this entire movie that it's just like it sounds like Back to the Future, because Alan Silvestri's music is very iconic. And so I guarantee to be like, oh, play this little note here and there in this movie, because it is a Robert Zemeckis movie and there are little Easter eggs throughout this entire movie that are Back to the Future related.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, my little heart fluttered. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. So yeah, I got to geek out and talk about Back to the Future on my podcast, which is awesome. So that's my first, like, the Back to the Future references, which I was like, eek. So what is your first like?
I love every single shot in this film that looks like it could be a painting. Because there are so many great shots in here that they're either recreating what the original picture book had, which granted, I haven't actually looked at the picture book, so I have no idea how accurate any of the shots actually are.
Yeah.
But the way they keep that aesthetic going all the way through it. So yeah, the background art, the art style, everything is pushing this. Even the character designs, for the most part, not the animations, the character designs, there's the difference.
Yes.
They all look like they were hand painted in a way. They're still obviously 3D, but the way that they are composited, they all look like somebody painted them.
Agreed.
And that it's then printed in a storybook that you would see underneath the tree at Christmas time. So yeah, I really loved the artwork in a lot of those shots, because they were just, some of them were just so beautiful.
I completely agree. There, yeah, I completely agree. Definitely from an artistic standpoint, there are so many shots that it's like it looks like a Kincaid film.
Yeah, Thomas
painting.
Kincaid.
Yeah, Thomas Kincaid. Which I know a lot of artists don't like Thomas Kincaid, because he like later in his career he would literally be like do a print and do, you know, a paint gloss over it. Which, yeah, a lot of artists don't like Kincaid for that. But I enjoyed Thomas Kincaid's art for what it is. Definitely when they do like Godzilla in the background. That's kind of cool.
See, I was debating whether to bring that joke up.
Yeah, that was
the best way to improve a Thomas Kincaid painting is to put Godzilla in it.
Yeah, throw the, you know, Godzilla or the DeLorean or something like that.
Something
like that.
The Mystery Machine pulling up to an old house.
Yeah, or a TARDIS.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. But be like, there are so many scenes in this movie, like backgrounds and animation, for the most part, is done.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Is absolutely incredible. Just stunning animation, and the amount of effort in 2004, mind you, when they are trying to break into a full CGI with motion capture and the whole bit. Yeah. Be like, I will give them props for that, because there is a lot of stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, for 2004
at the time, see, Pixar had only put out what 5, maybe 6 movies total in that since 1995, and Toy Story itself took 5 years.
Yeah,
so call it 15 years.
Yeah,
and Toy Story had only put out 4 or 5 movies, so obviously they were looking for a way to speed this process up with some form of accuracy, which was the primary reason so many of the non 3D animation houses that were wanting to make 3D movies or animated movies were using motion capture, because it looked like it was a good, fast way to pull this off. But we'll get into the motion capture debacle
we'll
later.
Get there when we get there.
Yeah. I have a bad feeling we're going to keep pointing to that, and we'll finally get to it. And it won't be as interesting a conversation.
That is true. So, you know, spoiler alert, we're probably going to spoil a lot. We're going to do a lot of deep
We'll spoil our own spoilers.
Yeah, we will. But I would agree with you. Be like, and that's kind of goes right in my second, like, the animation in this movie is very beautiful, and taking into consideration this was 2004 when they did this. There is a lot of work they did into, definitely with the motion capture, the full use of CGI. It's very well done. In that case, there are huge problems when we get into our dislikes. It's like, just hang on to that. But
For reference, this was the same year Incredibles came out.
that is true. And
Like
Incredibles
literally
was
the same month.
yeah. Wow, you're not kidding.
Ish. Sorry.
Yeah. So be like animation's so well done. Be like it does a lot of groundbreaking stuff that is very well done. Like visually is just eye candy. And yeah, like Pixar came out the exact same month, or Incredibles came out the exact same month. We reviewed that film already. Go check it out wherever you listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Way back in season 1.
way back in season 1. You're right. That was season 1.
That was the first time I caught a mistake that was in the movie.
Real? Oh yeah, that's right.
Because I found a spot where they didn't finish animating it.
That's right. Yep. I remember that conversation. Season 1 was
a trip.
That was a trip, and it's gonna be interesting coming up. In
We've got some plans.
We got some plans. So just hang on to your butts. We'll get there when we get there. So yeah, animation in the movie is very well done. It's got a lot of problems, and we'll get there when we get there. But I enjoy the animation for what it is when it's done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That's my second like. What's your second like?
The scene where we're following the ticket from when it leaves the train till it finds its way back to the train and it goes on. It's very obviously inspired by the feather from the beginning of Forrest Gump.
Agree. Yeah.
But we see so many cool little action, like background stuff that admittedly this sequence is a little bit of filler. But this is what happens when you're trying to adapt a picture book into a 90-minute film.
True.
There was probably maybe 15 pages, so you're gonna have to add something. But the whole sequence there, when it as it's flying through the air and it falls there and the wolves run past it and it
picked up,
blows it back up, and then the bird catches it. That one bird eats it.
It spits
and
it out.
Thankfully, the camera shifts down so we don't have to see them find a way to make this baby bird hawk the loogie out.
Yeah,
because they couldn't figure out how to animate it either. If we're being honest,
but the way they shot it was
really good.
They dropped the camera down and we just saw it come out.
It was a great way to hide that, and it was very artistic way. But that whole thing where it's like, because the minute you saw that ticket fly out of the train, it's going to find its way back to the train. This is the only way this will work. Magic is involved. Christmas magical is involved. It's going to show back up. I'll be half surprised if it doesn't fall in her lap when you get right down to it, or fall in his lap. But that's not how it happens. It actually hits the heating register and nearly gets sucked into the heating register. But that whole sequence I thought was very, very beautiful in its animation.
I got you.
What's your third like?
My third like having faith. Okay. Having faith. I'd be like, this is like the big thing when it comes to this film, is where our main hero character, or Chris, as we're calling him. As we're calling him, Chris, is a young man who's struggling to believe that Santa is real. Be like, he's being told by the world that Santa is not real,
giving a lot of evidence.
A lot of evidence to it.
The one has to wonder why the animatronic is evidence, because surely they're not going to capture Santa Claus and put him in a store window to pretend to give presents to people all night long.
Or like the fact that he has newspaper clippings of Santa's beard being pulled down at a ball or something like that. And so it'd be like he becomes more cynical. And so it'd be like he's given this chance to go on the Polar Express, and this entire time of believing believing without seeing his faith. Yeah. And this entire time, be like it's
sometimes the most real things are the things you can't see.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. And I always think to like 2 Corinthians 5, 6, 7, and let me pull that up real fast. And of course I don't have it up.
I'm making this my third like also.
Okay.
Because this is kind of the thought process I hit on. And literally it was like within moments of the beginning of the film, I was like, oh, because it's been a while since I've seen this. I'd forgotten the whole. I knew he was debating on whether or not he believed in Santa, but I forgot that the beginning of the film we're actually going over like the crux of why he has doubts.
Yeah,
and I remember seeing that and going, huh, I know how this ends. This is actually seems like it's going to be a good allegory, if nothing else. It's not going to be perfect because allegories are always going to break down.
Yeah.
But yeah, seems like a good allegory for like you said, faith. They use the word belief.
Yeah.
But we all know the problem with belief.
Yeah.
Even the devil believes and fears and trembles.
Exactly.
Because it's not about believing, it's about faith.
Yeah, it's about believing something you can't see.
Right.
And the reference I was referring to is 2 Corinthians 5, 6 through 7 is so we are all always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord. For we walk by faith and not by sight. So that is very common. That's very, very, very quoted.
Yeah.
Now, granted, contextually, it's talking about the point where we are here on earth and our desires to be with the Lord in heaven and to be with Christ. But while we are here in our fleshly homes, we are to always be mindful that this is not our home. But in the movie itself is the idea that's like it's like if we took if we took the allegory even further with the struggle of faith, the struggle of belief, definitely if you're a Christian, if you're a born again Christian who struggles with their faith and wrestles with it, because there's the difference. Because if you have belief in Jesus, it'd be like you believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. He died for you. He died for you to take upon the sin of the world, for that you can have life. You can have eternal life. So when it comes to be like if you're not if it's a non-Christian, be like it's going to be like the seed sown on the floor, seed flown on the floor. Be like it's just going to be devoured and flown away. Be like there's not going to be evidence of faith. But if you're one of those seeds that hold on, and you'll be like you're going to sit there and struggle. Be like even the greatest evangelicals in the world, the greatest pastors, greatest you name it, have struggled with faith, have struggled believing, and be like I do. I guarantee Drew does. That we all sometimes we sit there when we doubt, and we kind of just be like, is this true? Is this true? There's also a passage I can't remember where it is, but it's a man who has double-minded. Be like, so he doubts, so his mind wonders.
Are you talking about? No, that's a different one. Never mind.
Yeah. But I was looking it up earlier. I was looking up earlier this week, and it kind of parallels with that. But it's more about like you sit there and you wonder and you ponder, and it's not the point where you use the more modern thing of deconstructing your faith, but it's more you sit down and you wrestle with your faith, and you come to the conclusion that like yes, I still believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, and be like you might wrestle with some of those things that's going on in life, kind of like Chris or Hero Boy in our story, which I still can't believe they never gave him a name in the movie. But it's that
I mean the books never I don't even think the book even gave, I bet the book doesn't even give Billy a name, assuming Billy is in the book.
Yeah. But I love
in the picture book the names wouldn't be necessary.
That is true. I love there again the allegory of faith and salvation and believing, because it's just that constant, if you are truly saved in Jesus Christ, be like you are going to be torn here and there from the world, and things are going to be like you're going to wrestle within your own mind, like what does this mean when you read something, and you're going to wrestle with it. Like, heck, I've heard my pastor say, it's like, yeah, I struggle with my faith. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
So be like, yeah, if you struggle with your faith, be like, you're not alone in it. Everybody does it. Be like, if you are truly born again in Jesus, like, you're going to struggle with your faith. So take heart. Because there again, the world first hated Jesus, they're going to hate you as well. So just saying. So going back to this, this idea of faith and belief is that Chris struggled with that. And so that perfect allegory of faith, of belief, is so heavy throughout this entire film. And I love that aspect of it, is, the idea that you struggle with something, that ultimately he comes to believe that Santa is real.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, we are not in the place of telling kids to believe or not believe in Santa. But so if your kids believe in Santa, great, let them believe it. Oddly enough, there are adults who still believe in Santa, which is kind of weird.
Anyway,
yeah, either or.
I kind of just been letting you get all this out of your system before I jump in.
Yeah. So yeah, faith. That's my third like.
Coming off of that, and I know we said it was maybe an allegory for the salvation.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's more like him coming back into the fold after he's backslidden for a while, because all of us, I think, have also had to deal with, as Christians, we've stepped away from the church for a time for one reason or another, and it took a while to get back in for one reason or another. And he had stepped away long enough from his belief in Santa, because he was getting older, of course, because he was seeing all this evidence hitting him, like how much Santa wasn't real, that he was in danger of no longer believing in Santa.
Right.
That was the way this thing goes, which would be equivalent of us as Christians being away from, the church or out of the word, not keeping up with our stuff as much.
Yeah.
We're seeing, the world is continually hitting us with evidence, or evidence that they say is evidence.
Yeah.
That our beliefs they're either wrong or they should be wrong.
Yeah.
And we're continually bombarded with that day after day after day.
Or you just simply slip into a sin and you just ride that coaster.
But we are given that, we are hit with that, that evidence all the time. And so this kid gets essentially gets the trip to heaven. Yeah. In a sense.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we won't actually ever get that trip to heaven until we've passed or we get called home.
Yeah.
In the rapture, but whichever one comes first.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets the chance to actually go and see. And the thing is, I have a feeling I would be in the same boat he was if I had, had backslidden to this degree. If I had a chance to go to heaven, and it was a bit of a journey to get there for some reason.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like the last bit that we finally got there. I have a feeling I would be doubting what was going on until finally I'm there. And even then I'm debating it. Because you gotta think about it from his point of view. As a kid, he's sitting there waiting for Santa Claus to come out.
Yeah.
He sees, after he gets out of the bag and goes up with the rest of the group, he sees the reindeer come out. That should be some kind of evidence, because the elves there's elves everywhere. He's having a hard time seeing the reindeer, and they're having a hard time holding the reindeer down. Throughout that entire North Pole sequence, Becky, as we called her, and Billy can continually hear the bells. That's what they use to follow to get back out of the place. But he can't hear them, to the point where when they are carrying the sleigh bells, halter bells to it, and they're every once in a while, they're shaking them so that they can to make the bells ring. Because we are seeing all this from Chris's point of view. We can't hear them either.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, it's like, that is kind of sad.
Yeah.
That the magic is lost to us because we don't has lost him because he doesn't believe.
Yeah.
And consequently, we're not getting to see it either. And then, you know, you get the big entrance where Santa Claus comes out, and no matter what Chris does, wherever he moves or everything, his vision keeps getting blocked
Mhm.
to where he can't see Santa.
Mhm.
And then the bell gets thrown off, and I really loved that as the bell was falling and the Frank Sinatra Santa Claus is coming to town starts slowing down, how creepy
Mhm.
and depressing
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
sequence was. It's like, this is the final proof that you are no longer a Santa believer,
Yeah.
or whatever the term is.
Yeah.
That you can't hear this bell is coming to you and you can't even hear it.
Yeah.
And he wants to hear it so bad that he finally admits, yes, I believe in Santa Claus. And then he can hear the bell ring, and then he sees in the reflection of the bell Santa Claus walking up to him. And it's like, huh, if that ain't allegory, I don't know what is. Because it's not till we admit and finally turn back to God that we actually get to see God again.
Yeah, exactly.
Because because we are actively turned away from him.
Yeah.
So it's not till, like I said, it's not till Chris believes in Santa Claus that he gets to partake in all this stuff again, outside of, because up until that point he's really just a casual observer for the most part. And then he gets to believe the rest of his life. Whereas his sister, who was being the good little Santa believing girl, believed in Santa the entire time he was doubting, until finally she fell away. But he never, and his parents can't hear the bell either, but he can hear I'm assuming all until he dies.
Yeah.
Which I'm still sitting there going, what does that mean? Is this kid just going to believe in Santa Claus the rest of his life? Is Becky going to believe in Santa Claus the rest of her life?
Yeah.
I think we know it all will forget about this entire thing by the end of lunch on Christmas Day, but
probably. Because I'm in it all.
I'm sorry. It's Mandark. He's Mandark. That's just who this kid is. Because the entire time thinking, I really wish Dexter would show up and blow a rocket up in your face. I'd like that any minute now, please. Can Kim Possible show up and punch this kid in the face? Please, anything. I hate
the exact same thing.
I hate the kid. You're supposed to hate the kid, I think. Because it's like, yeah, this is, you know what kind of train this is? This is a such and such, such and such. And it's like, Becky just told you what kind of train it was. It's a magic train. It doesn't matter that it's a replica of this one model that you happen to know of, especially like the part where they finally get back to the car after they've been in the engine so long, and Know-It-All is saying, hey, did you missed all the fun. When we looked outside, it looked like we were on a roller coaster. He didn't say roller coaster ride, but it's like it looked like we were riding across the lake. It was breaking up. I know it was all fake though, caused by illusions and trick mirrors. It's like, will you shut up, please? You are the most annoying character in this movie.
I think that was your third like in your kind of a semi dislike.
Moving into dislikes.
There we go.
But I'm not going to start with Mandark.
Mandark.
I am starting with the Uncanny Valley.
Thank you.
We need to get this off our chest.
Oh my gosh.
There is Uncanny Valley in this, but it's not as bad, I think, as everyone claims it is.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Uncanny Valley is a very subjective effect.
Yeah.
It will affect different people. Some people will see it and say it looks fine. Other people will have nightmares based on some of the images in this movie, based on how bad that uncanny effect is. But the problem here, I think, is not the fact that they use motion capture. It's the fact that, because it's really bad on the kids. It's really only bad on the kids.
Oh,
the adults are fine for the most part. But the kids all look bad. It's because they're being motion captured by adults with oversized objects and hands, meaning we are looking at what I call the Sonic the Hedgehog effect.
Sure.
From the games. they're all mascot characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're all having to move at too big of the objects are too big for the motion capture data, and that's what's causing most of this problem. Plus, this is still before they really had good eye tracking technology.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So the eyes are still being hand animated in every shot, and they don't ever animate right, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Especially Mandark. His eyes are the worst. I don't know how they pulled that off for this one kid. I guess it's just because we hate this kid. And so we're not able to forgive the animation on him as much as say on Billy or Chris or Becky for that matter.
Uh-huh.
Although let's face it, the elves ain't much better.
Oh my gosh, the elves.
Oh my word, especially Steven Tyler.
Oh my gosh.
I know he had to have done that, but done the motion capture for the upper half of his body, because there's no way they actually got him doing motion capture on a unicycle.
Yeah.
And because it looks bad. It looks bad. The uncanny valley is very strong in this, and it's amplified by the fact that almost every character in the movie is the wrong proportions for the actor playing them.
Agreed.
And that is the problem here. Because the movie is very good in any shot that does not involve a character moving, which is weird to say.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. And granted, the adults are better than everyone else except in the faces.
Mm-hmm.
But the actions of the kids always look like they're exaggerated too much.
Yeah, agreed.
Because it's adults trying to act like kids with oversized stuff so that they, I guess, to help them do the motion capture better, more accurately. So for the proportions, and I think that's where this really hits a wall. We are still, I don't want to say it's too early for them to have been using motion capture, because Gollum in Lord of the Rings is motion capture, and he looks good to this day. That effect for him stands up in Two Towers and Return of the King. It's a different thing in Fellowship, but that's beside the point. It's a whole different bag for that than here, where all the characters are stiff. B, every character that Tom Hanks did the motion capture for does the same things he does. I know that sounds weird that I'm complaining that the Tom Hanks mannerisms are coming out in all the actors Tom Hanks plays, but when you have 7 characters who are played by Tom Hanks, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I still don't know how this would have worked if every character was played by Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And I get the thought process, because this is all supposed to be somewhat in a dream that Chris is having.
Yeah.
But it's also not.
Yeah.
So I still would have preferred more motion capture actors be used and only have Tom Hanks do Santa Claus and the conductor.
Yeah.
Have somebody else do Chris and the hobo.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks has to play the hobo also, because he's really, those are the 3 characters he's primarily playing in this.
Yeah.
Well, and the Scrooge puppet, which he did the motion capture for the puppet also. That's still weird. That the puppet is motion captured and not by actually motion capturing the animation of a puppet, by doing the motion capture on a human and then saying, oh yeah, he's being controlled by the hobo, by the hobo Hank Hobo. Which fits better, Hobo Hank or Hank Hobo?
Hank Hobo.
Hank Hobo. Thanks, Hobo. It's just so weird. But the uncanny valley is the biggest problem this film has, top to bottom. And I think that's what will ultimately continue to make this film look dated the farther we get away from 2004. What is your first dislike? Assuming you're not jumping off of mine.
No. Be like, my first dislike was actually yours, but be like, you laid into that very well. You articulated very well. So I'm not going to try to step into that. That was very well done. My number one way too much Hank.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you implied earlier, there be
Hanks
like
need to
Tom
step-
Hanks, they're again a legend
Right.
art actor. Be like the man can do a lot, be like vast range. You go from up
Mhm.
or not up, but a big to like, you know,
Toy Story,
Toy Story,
Castaway.
uh,
I mean,
Otter with the new movies come out as Otter. The man
there
is
is still a
standard def.
reason that when you see Tom Hanks is in a movie, you either know it's going to be brilliant or it's going to be absolute garbage.
Yeah,
It's never anywhere in between.
yeah. But this movie just takes the cake.
Toy
I'd be
Story
like,
4 notwithstanding.
yeah, because for me going into this film, be like knowing Tom Hanks is in this film, it's like, okay, he's the conductor, and then he's the narrator. It's like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
well, that kind of makes sense. Like, while he'd be the narrator, and then he's the conductor. Okay, makes sense.
Mhm.
And then be like,
And he's the hobo.
and then
That kind of makes sense.
It makes sense that he's the hobo,
And he's Santa Claus.
and he's Santa Claus, and he's the puppet, and then he's like three other characters. I'm like, okay, Tom, I understand, Mr. Hanks. Be like, when you purchased the right for this movie, that you could play Santa Claus in the movie, as far as I understand.
I think he was always meant to play the conductor and the hobo and Santa Claus.
Yeah, he was.
He's actually meant, like I said, like you said, he was meant to play all of the characters in the
Yeah.
motion capture, which is just weird.
Yeah, weird.
But,
But it's just like, I think it's a little too much. Be like, if you would have like maybe diversified the character a little bit, like who they played, but I think it's a little too much, because they like the hobo. It's like, okay, this is obviously Tom Hanks.
Mhm.
When you get to Santa, it's like, okay, that's interesting.
That
Then
makes
you start
sense.
to hear it. It's like, that's Tom Hanks. And like every other character is Tom Hanks. Like every other character.
Mhm.
And be like, it gets a little too.
And they all have the same mannerisms,
exactly. The same
including the motion
mannerisms,
capture.
the same vocal inflections, everything. It's just like,
And
like
it's-
not even Santa sounds different, except they put a monotone on him or something like
they
that.
put some kind of vocal effect on him. And plus, he's doing the motion capture for Chris also.
Uh-huh.
So he even has the mannerisms, despite the fact that another kid's
Exactly.
voicing him.
It's just weird. Like, yeah, heck, we did for Halloween, we did Monster House, which is again a movie done by Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Robert Zemeckis did that film as well. And
Did much better in that one.
did much better. Agreed. But this one was so overload Tom Hanks. It's like I love Tom Hanks as an actor, but good night, there's way too much of him in this film, and it just gets overwhelmingly a headache.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, Tom, Mr. Hanks, I get what you were trying to do. I totally get it, but it's just like there's too much of it. That's just what I'm gonna say. There's a way. Be like, you're a great actor, but there's way too much of you in this movie. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
So that's my number one. What's your second dislike?
Mandark.
Oh gosh,
Let's get back to this kid.
Oh,
I hate this kid. I knew I was going to hate this kid when I first heard his voice back in 2005 or 6 or whatever it was I first saw this movie. Because as soon as I heard him, I go, "You're the villain of this movie, aren't you, kid?"
Oh, I wish.
And it's like, no, he should have been. If there was going to be a villain in here besides, what would be the anti-Santa?
I think it'd be more like Chris's non-belief.
A Santaism?
Santaism?
A Santaism.
Oh.
Anyway, if just the disbelief in Santa Claus is the villain of this, if that wasn't it should be Mandark here, or Ned, or whatever you want to call the goober.
Ned.
Know it all.
Oh my gosh.
Because here's the thing. Chris as a character is okay, because they do give him a lot of background for where he is.
Agreed.
Becky,
she's
while they give her enough characterization to where it is believable that she is that type of character, and they give enough characterization for Billy that even though he is not in half of the film, he's still believable, and it's understandable why he is in the position he's in. Mandark needs to be punched in the face at the beginning of the film because we have no idea why this kid's like this other than he knows everything and he doesn't want to know how to shut up.
Now, granted, we've all known kids like that.
Yeah.
We've all, growing up, we've known that kid. And it's just more like, can you please stop? Yeah. I guarantee probably at one point I was that kid because I was the kid be like just about stuff and just like, Jacob, shut up.
Becky should have told him to be quiet. It'd been funnier if Billy told him to shut up. They should have just left him in the bag.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, completely agreed. Stuff him in the bottom of the bag.
It's like, you're causing more trouble than you're worth, kid. Time for you to become an elf. Mandark is just an annoying character in this film. Oh, and God. I've known people like him. That's the thing. But that's my second dislike is that character. What's your second?
So to kind of follow that up, I was like, when our kids get trapped in the the Christmas bag. What we ultimately learned that it's a Christmas bag. I'm like, and then Mandark, as Drew's calling him, Mandark shows up. And it's just like, what the heck? How did these get here? It's like, oh, I was following them. It's like, how? No, you weren't?
How were you following them? We never saw you.
No, like he was never in a shot.
When did you get the pneumatic tube?
Yeah, exactly. Never did. And like his character just pops up to be more annoying. I'm like,
hey, you haven't heard my voice in the past 15 minutes. It's time to reintroduce me into the film. I can't find my present. All I found was a box of dirty of underwear and socks. That's all you deserve. You nerd. And I don't mean that in the pleasant terms of nerd. As a term, I do not mean that as a term of endearment.
No,
like I would with many friends of mine. I mean this is I mean this in the way the bullies mean it.
Jeez.
I hate this kid so much.
Ironically, this is two nerds talking about animated nerds and hating on another nerd character.
They made the character annoying intentionally, on purpose, and they keep bringing it back. It's like, can we have the jock show up to take some of these parts, please? You didn't put a jock in this film, but that's the other kind of kid who would be on this trip. He should be that would be the fourth Power Ranger in this group.
He'd be a Billy, but Billy's more interesting.
No, we already have Billy. He's the lonely boy.
Yeah. That's true. That's right.
Billy's the lonely boy. No, that's the thing. Becky is obviously the Pink Ranger.
That is
true. Chris is the Red Ranger.
True.
Billy is the Blue Ranger. I guess that would make Mandark the Black Ranger, except I like Zach.
Who doesn't like Zach?
Which means the jock that we're imagining should be showing up in this would be the Green Ranger, because there's not another girl to throw in here yet.
That is true.
Hey, I'll take another girl. I want someone besides Becky. Don't get me wrong. I like Becky in this, but I want somebody else to kind of even her out.
Yeah, agreed.
Because she's the girl stuck with among the boys. She doesn't. To some degree, she doesn't. We never get to see her act as more than just someone hanging out with the guys.
Yeah,
I kind of would like to see how she is with another girl in tow.
Yeah.
There are other girls on this train. Put one of them in this group. Excuse me.
Oh my gosh, but
especially if it knock out Mandark.
Oh, Mandark. Thus thou we hate thee. Oh my gosh, yes, this character is so annoying. And yeah, like I said before, when he shows up in the bag, I'm like, how in the world did he get here? And like you said, it's like he's been gone for 15 minutes. We need to bring back his annoying self in the show again, in the movie again. And it's just like every time he shows up, I'm like, can he shut up, please?
And the
Stop
thing,
talking.
and the thing is, he has my favorite line in there because it makes me giggle. That's what annoys me the most. Is that line when they're in the bag and they're transforming, and someone says, "Look, it's still 11:55." It says, "Of course it's 11:55. It's been 11:55 for the past hour." Pause. Oh, the movie's been an hour. Moving on. Hit play. We've got nothing but time. We got time to kill. It's like, you're not wrong, because there's been a lot of filler in this film so far.
Yes, there is a lot of filler,
which is fine. But it's like, you've got my favorite line. I still hate you.
Oh gosh, yes, I agree. Mandark is worst character in this movie. Completely agree. So going into my second dislike.
Oh, I thought that was your second.
No. I like where you're going and be like, yes, Mandark is worst character in this movie. Completely agreed. I did not like this character at all. That wasn't even in my radar of like dislikes, but I liked how you went with that, so I just ran with it. No, my second dislike is the cringe of this movie. Oh my gosh, what I'm
are you saying it's so sweet that you can feel your teeth rotting?
Kind of.
It's
I'm
that
talking
kind of
about
cringe?
character expressions.
Oh, we're going back into Uncanny Valley territory.
Yeah, Uncanny Valley stuff. Gotcha. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because there's a lot of shots where it's like, I think your motion capture program glitched here, guys.
Yeah, because it's like anytime you get in a character space, it's like, oh my gosh. Okay, back up. I can't get away from this. Like, as a reviewer, I can't just stop it and not watch the movie
deep
again.
into your soul.
Yes, and it scared the living daylights out of me. Definitely when Mandark would show up.
Yes, because his eyes were the worst.
Absolutely the worst. I mean, like, no. I mean, like, the first time you see Becky talk, it's just like, oh my gosh.
That first shot of her where she's looking at Chris expectantly.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you hitting on him? You're 7.
Yeah. What the heck? But,
or 12. I think there's actually 12.
Like
but
12
still.
or something. Yeah, 10 and 11 years old. But oh
it's
my
it's a little early for you to become aroused, isn't it?
Moving along.
It's like,
moving right along.
She does look at him like he's a tasty treat.
Oh yes, moving along. Oh my gosh,
he looks yummy.
Shut up. In Christian love, shut up.
I really was referring to not what was like she's going to eat him. Literally.
I know.
That's literally where I'm thinking.
Yes,
it's
I know.
It's just after I said that other thing, it does sound like I meant something else.
Yes. Anyways, moving right along. As Kermit the
in search of good times and good news.
Oh,
good friends you can't lose. This could become a habit.
Oh my gosh! But the character recognition system in this movie is, oh my gosh. Like every time a child character would be like look around or say something or like point.
Yes.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is cringy. It's like where the cheese grater is going in the back of my head. It just scrape. It's like, ah. It's kind of like a coworker who loves to poke you the entire time, and it's irritating beyond belief. Thanks, Michael. Don't start. But no, I have a coworker, like, he gets hyper. All he does is poke the entire time. This is what the animation facial recognition system in this movie feels like. It's like, poke, how ugly I am. Poke, how ugly I am. It's like, oh my gosh, get away from me.
It's almost like
get away from thee.
It's almost like they didn't rig it correctly.
Exactly. It's like, oh my gosh.
They got it very close, but they didn't quite get it there.
Yeah, because like when we first meet Chris, I'm like, you know what? This is not bad.
Yeah.
Like when he's sleeping, he turns around. He's just more like
he's looking at the newspaper clippings and the thing about the North Pole and the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this looks good. And then you get on the train. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. Okay. Uncanny Valley issue. Big time.
The Uncanny Valley was in the train. Okay.
But oh my gosh.
Now, I will say, granted, Chris does not fall into that uncanny valley that much.
Yeah, in some cases,
Becky does a fairly decent job of only being like on the edge of the uncanny valley. Billy, he's okay. I don't think his actor was very expressive, so I don't know if it worked very well for him.
I guess it maybe the direction of the director,
maybe, but Mandark,
and like all the other kids,
and all the other kids, it's like,
gosh,
oh my word.
Mandark worst character.
Mandark is the worst. Mandark doesn't get any niceties in this.
No,
we hate his character, and his character was rigged the worst in the motion capture.
Agreed.
And about the only thing that's good about it is they did get Eddie Deason, and Eddie Deason is the character you get for all your geeky roles. Which
agreed.
Before is Alan Parsons that plays not Leonard, the guy on
Sheldon?
Big Bang Theory.
There again, you're talking to the wrong person.
Never mind. Sheldon.
I said that earlier.
You probably did, and I missed it.
Probably.
But Eddie Deason was the guy you got before Sheldon, and I still think Eddie Deason does a much better job.
Yeah. But yeah, the facial caption system in this movie, just like, definitely you get around the kids, and like sometimes with Tom Hanks's characters.
Some of his, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The worst one actually is the marionette.
Yes.
Because it's the most exaggerated character design, and it really doesn't fit with the motion capture.
And they're understandably like they want to try to express the characters the best they can.
Yeah,
with
and I
the
get
program
that.
they have. It's 2004, but oh my gosh.
It just doesn't
it gets
work a lot of times.
Really quick.
And it's the mannequin of it. It's the mascot effect. I keep want to call it mannequin, but it's mascot. Is that mascot effect because it's the characters are not closely enough connected to their character designs for that to work at this time. Granted, nowadays you have a much better job of putting like a different character design on motion capture, but even then you don't use motion capture nowadays for what they were trying to do with them, because motion capture does not work for a lot of stuff. And they were experimenting at the time. And I think Robert Zemeckis will even do this when he does his version of Christmas Carol.
That's right.
Which also I have not watched, but I've heard it's got a lot of
Uncanny
Valley issues too. But anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, cringe factor. What's your third?
My third dislike for this film is all of the filler.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
There's some beautiful shots that take place during the filler segments. I grant you. But a lot of the times it's like, can we move along? This is obviously not where the plot is. We have gone off on a spur, if you will, to use a railroad term. We've gone off on a spur away from the story, and I know we're going to come back to story, but it feels like you forgot what the story was. Now, like I said, I get it. This was probably a 15-page picture book. Not a lot of story in those to begin with.
Right.
And so I give it a little bit of props for that. I understand why they had to stretch it out, but the filler that was on the train was a lot more bearable, because it did feel like we were moving along. Pardon the pun. It always felt like we were making progress. The minute we get to the North Pole, that's where the filler gets bad.
Yeah, exactly.
The entire trip through Santa's workshop, I wish we'd have skipped.
Yeah, agreed.
There is the part there where they're falling through the slide stuff. Billy's holding onto his present. Don't get me wrong. I thought that did look somewhat cool. But at the same time, most of the rest and the pneumatic tube sequence you think would be cool, but the way they animated it, you don't get to see anything.
Yeah.
It makes the whole thing seem like, why did we go on this part of the trip? We didn't need this part. Y'all should have the minute Billy decided not to go with them was where the filler really started, because Billy's going to end up there anyway. He has to. It's part of the story. This is the year he's going to finally get to celebrate Christmas. Of course. That's how the story works. So he's going to get to see Santa Claus. But why? Oh, why do we have to go on this breakneck speed thing down through this empty city into an empty warehouse and through an empty distribution area, and the elves claim, we know you were there all along. It's like, why didn't you get them out of there?
Exactly.
They could have been killed in there, and this is all pointless.
Agreed.
Even the part where they're in the bag and the bag's not got enough altitude to clear the Christmas tree, because guess what? The kids are in there.
And
which
you
means,
didn't know they were there.
But we know you're in there all the time, kid. That's what that last elf said.
It's just like, no, you didn't know.
Santa knew, but you didn't.
Oh my gosh.
So the whole thing, it's like I recognize that the minute we get there is we were only 45 minutes into the movie, and you've got to reach an hour and a half. I get that. Do something more interesting.
Yeah.
Have them have to get, have some more elves running in the last thing, and they accidentally run into him, and the elves panic and are like chasing them out of the warehouse, and the kids spooked are trying to run away from them. Have that be, and then you could still do the thing where Billy finds his present, realizes he's actually gonna get to celebrate Christmas. You could even have, that's how you get Mandark back in here and prove he's been following him this whole time. He's the one who alerts the elves to their presents.
Of course he would.
Because he would. And then you can follow them all up, and they trying to sneak out in the bag, and of course the elves know they're there, or at least the ones in the airship know they're there. And you could still do the ending of this without it feeling like it's empty.
Yeah.
And we don't really get to see much.
Yeah.
Granted, this is 2004. They didn't have a good way of doing very complex group shots at the time. In fact, I would actually say the most impressive thing in here is the group shots where the elves are actually blocking Chris's view of Santa Claus.
Yeah, that was good.
That's impressive for the time period. But that entire part from when they go in there until until we get to those scenes where we're getting Santa Claus out there and the reindeer and the bell and all that stuff. Right from the time they get back on there to get Billy off to the time the kids get out of the bag, all that is filler and could have been either left out or done a different way.
Yeah, agreed.
It should have been done a different way, but because the way they did it, it just feels like we're 4 kids who got lost. We're 3 kids who got lost with a magic teleporting kid we hate, who's going to magically show up in this bag. We're not going to explain how he got there.
Yeah.
But and we're getting lost in Santa's warehouse, and we're somehow going to make it out because 2 of us believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That last bit just could have been done better, is all I'm saying. Anyway, your third dislike.
My third dislike is on the exact same derail, I'm going to say, because the third act, when they get to the North Pole, is where the third act to me falls apart. So when Billy doesn't get out of the cart and it goes into that complete shenanigans of going down the pipes and this and this and this, completely derails the story. And like you said, it's filler. It's filler that doesn't necessarily need to be there. It could have been rewritten. It could have been written so much better. And it's like, yeah, I know they're trying to set up for the bell, the bell setup.
Well, really, once they get out of the bag, it's fine, at least
Yeah.
to me anyway.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
still taking a good long time, but a lot of that I'm feeling is the fact that we had so much of this other filler right before it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
It's like to the point where Billy won't leave the train car, to the point where they get out of the bag, completely derails the story.
Mhm.
And it finally picks up again where the story should be when they, Santa starts showing up in the whole bit. Now, this part of the story could have been completely rewritten and redone to more maybe like flow. And why in the world is
Mandark?
Mandark? Thank you. Why is Mandark here? Why?
Because I hadn't been seen in the last 15 minutes.
Exactly.
We've got to keep bringing in the annoying kid that everyone hates because we got to provide tension in this story somehow.
Heck, you could do tension with just the two main characters. That's it.
You could do tension with the fact that they're not supposed to be in the bag in the first place.
Exactly.
You don't need Mandark showing up.
Exactly. Didn't mean Mandark showing up. The elves saying to be like, oh, we knew you were there in the entire time. Like Drew said, be like, then why did you let those kids go through all that peril when you knew they were there?
Yeah.
And like you said, be like, they could have made it a chase scene. They could have done this. They could have done this. They could have done this with this story. But the third act, to me, until they get back to Santa Claus, is completely it derails the story, and it is filler the entire time, and it's annoying as all crap.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say the third act until the final part of the third act be like where the story actually picks back up. This little intermediary of the third act completely decimates the story until we get back to where the story needs to be.
Right.
And it is so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is my third dislike. And plus Mandark showing up. It's like, really? This character again?
I would have paid money if Billy would have punched him in the face.
Oh, thank you. Or at least
that
pushed him
would
further
show
on the
character growth.
Exactly. Like, let the kid go out and come out of his shell and just push his stupid head back in that bag. And then, like, the elves had to drag him out.
At least when it's like, I think something's got a hold of me, and they put him up, I really was like, just kick him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Kick him, Billy. Kick him. I don't even need this for character growth. You're in a perfect position. Just struggle a little bit more and accidentally kick him in the face. To where he has to get a new pair of glasses for Christmas.
Oh,
this is the two nerds being annoyed at the nerd character, by the way, because we just don't like this guy.
No, absolutely not. Granted, the voice actor who does him is very well.
He's great.
He does great for that kind of character.
Right.
But this character just ratchets up to 20. It's just like, ugh, please stop.
I think he's the character that you just love to hate in some ways. I don't like him.
No, I don't like him.
But I don't think you're supposed to like him. So I guess it's kind of a success.
Yeah, agreed.
In a weird way.
Yeah, bravo. Like,
Eddie
whoever wrote
Deason.
this movie, good job with that. We hate this character.
Hope we were never supposed to like him.
No.
Because I honestly don't feel like if that character had grown just a little bit outside of, him being told to lead after he thought it said lead. It's like, yeah, you are a lead foot. No, she's the one who's leading and thought it said lead.
Yeah.
Which she goes, like a lead balloon. It's like, was that your problem this whole time? Is you thought people hated you because you were too forceful? Because you never showed that before this point.
Exactly.
Sorry. Tangent. Because obviously those things are supposed to be what those kids were supposed to learn.
Exactly.
And of course, the one for Eddie Deason's character is that he's supposed to learn, and he thought it said lean because his thumb was covering the R. You are an idiot, Mandark. He says, oh, I get it. Okay. It's like,
yeah, please go sit down, shut up, and finish the movie. Thank you very much.
Let's move on with our lives.
Yes.
At least his last line was, it really stinks that you lost your bell. I mean, really. And then he disappears. We never see him again. Anyway. It's like to their last line, you are an annoying prick. I'm sorry. We were on your third lot dislike, and I just got off track again.
It's very easy to go onto a Mandark tangent. Anyway, so yeah, that is my third dislike. The third act falls apart for the most part.
We need to rate this film. What are you rating it?
I don't know. You go rate it first.
Oh, you're gonna throw me under the bus,
yes.
under the sleigh,
under the train,
under the train. Yes, I'm just down there with Hank's hobo riding the train. I'm giving it a 7.5.
Okay,
I would rate this higher if the motion capture was not so horrendous. And really, I say horrendous. It's not aged well.
Yeah,
that's its biggest issue. It was creepy when it came out because the technology wasn't there,
and it's still creepy now.
And yeah, it's still bad now. And I don't know if you were to remake this film with the same motion capture nowadays, if it would actually save it.
Yeah,
because I don't think this is what motion capture is really designed for. Is for animated films. There are people who do it and it works well, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the technology is better now, and perhaps we'd get better performance capture, especially if you don't put Tom Hanks in 7 of the roles. Pardon me. But yeah, I'm giving this a 7.5 because there's just so many weird things that kind of distract from the main story of the movie.
Agreed.
I give the story this much props is that even with these distracting things, it is able to strongly communicate and actually bring some Christmas joy this time of year.
Yeah.
Even with all those issues. So I'm not going to say it's horrible or that you shouldn't watch it. It does not it would not belong in a Christmas edition of Bad Movie Month, though I know some films that would belong there. This is not one of them.
Right.
But yeah, it does have some things that's just going to be a problem with it going forward, especially the further and further we get away from 2004 and the less kids have, or less adults have nostalgia for this movie. I suspect in 20 years, this is going to be like an obscure Christmas movie that some people will remember and say, have you seen this weird thing? I suspect that's what it's going to be like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, except not as horribly funny. Because it's not bad, it's just not great.
Yeah,
I have a feeling it's just going to be forgotten about, and it won't hold the same. Won't have the same hold that some other Christmas classics have. This is what I'm trying to say.
Understood. Well, with my ranking, because there again, I wanted you to go first because I was lost the goose where I wanted to place this, because there is parts of this movie is absolutely gorgeous. Storytelling is very well done. And then you have parts where the story falls apart. The Uncanny Valley is cringeworthy in a lot of it. Oh my gosh. And don't get me started again on our most hated character ever. Be like, Mandark, please shut up. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And I like your placement of seven. What was it? A 7.5?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I would place it as 6.5 because there again, it is animation wise very well done. There are like a lot of technical issues they were still having to work with, and kind of giving it that grace, almost edging it to a 7, but it still has issues. It has the Mandark, right?
You can call him Ned if you want.
Ned, Mandark, whatever.
Ha 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 ha.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm just doing the Mandark laugh.
Yeah, we got that issue. We've got the third act issue. We've got the uncanny issue. There again, understanding it was the time period and they were still learning. So giving it that grace. So it's kind of it's be like it's a tight 6.5 that's almost a 7,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't quite give it a 7. So it's sitting very firmly at a 6.5 for me.
Okay. And that brings us to the end of this episode for the movie portion, at least. Next week, we are going to be reviewing, if I open the right apps on here. That's the wrong thing.
The short one.
The short one. Yeah, that's next week.
Mm-hmm.
Small one.
The small one. I misread it. My bad.
Yeah, the small one.
The small one.
This is a Don Bluth film.
That's right, it is.
It's the first Don Bluth film.
Mm-hmm.
And it is it is not the nativity story, but it takes place around that time.
That's right. That's right.
And it's one I watched a lot as a kid, though
I've never heard of it until
not around Christmas time.
Yeah.
So yeah, join us next week for that. In the meantime, we need to jump into some Star Trek Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Robotech.
Come on now and set sail for the future. Fly in the sky, oh, the love of
I may have to go back and clip that on the Twitch channel.
Exactly. You just got into that so hard.
All right. First episode of tonight for Star Trek Lower Decks, we have Reflections, directed by Michael Mullen and written by Mike McKayen, aka the creator of Star Trek Lower Decks, wrote this episode.
Nice.
In this episode, Mariner and Boimler work the Starfleet recruitment booth at an alien job fair while Rutherford challenges himself.
Yeah.
Not wrong. Guest cast for this includes Carlos Alazarqui as a voice, Georgia King as Petra Aberdeen and a Bajoran outpost scientist, Phil Lamar as additional voices, Jessica McKenna as the Cerritos computer and Barnes, Carl Tart as Kayshawn, and Carrie Walgreen as additional voices. This is the first episode in what I am currently calling the Alito arc. The reason for that name will become apparent later in the series.
Okay.
But I will mention that elements of the episode's terminal provocations and no small parts are perhaps part of what's going on in this particular arc. If you remember, those are the 2 episodes featuring the character of Badgie. This is a little bit of a hint of what's going on. In this episode, younger Rutherford says that he funded construction of his own engine by winning Devron races. Older Rutherford balks, saying that those go through the neutral zone and are illegal. The Devron system was the location of the anti-time anomaly in the Next Generation series finale and was located in the neutral zone, or in the scene set in the future, the former neutral zone, as the zone was abolished prior to those events. It was a time travel episode. The Delta Flyer and accompanying racing uniforms are both taken from episodes of Star Trek Voyager.
As Drew is holding a
Yes, I have
flyer.
a Delta Flyer Christmas ornament. The Truthers suggest that Starfleet admirals are being controlled by alien butt bugs.
Oh, gosh.
Which Boimler dismisses as just a conspiracy. Mariner informs him that that actually happened, a reference to the penultimate episode of the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation, titled conspiracy. However, the alien parasites in that episode burrowed themselves into the base of the host's skulls. They did not crawl in through their butts. The Cerritos previously visited Tulgana 4 in Envoys, and Boimler's first mission aboard the USS Titan was to this planet, in no small parts. Young Rutherford's first attempt to escape from the Cerritos is foiled by Tulgana 4's ionic field, whose existence was established in Envoys. Tendi asks Rutherford if his nightmare was the one where he is in a new timeline where Kirk and Spock, where they have cinematic chemistry. This is a reference to the 3 Star Trek films set in the alternate reality that is better known as the Kelvin timeline.
Oh, okay.
Or as I prefer to call them, the Abrams verse. Starbase 80 is referenced after first being mentioned back in season 1 episode, Terminal Provocations. Anaphasic life forms previously appeared in the Next Generation episode, Sub Rosa. Sub Rosa was the episode where Dr. Crusher fell in love with the quote-unquote ghost of a Scottish lord that somehow made it to this other planet that her mother may have also had some kind of relations with.
Oh, those kind of relationships.
This was a bad episode.
Oh, okay.
Petra Aberdeen, glamorous independent archaeologist, is reminiscent of the character Vash. Aberdeen served on the USS Victory and references the controversy over whether Starfleet is a military organization. Rutherford's repressed personality asks Barnes if her trill spots go all the way down. Jadzia Dask was asked a similar question by Dural in the DS9 episode Meridian. To answer the question that is probably going through your mind, they do.
I thought so. Have you ever seen a cheetah?
But not in the makeup booth. To generate interest in the Starfleet recruiting booth, Mariner says, "Prepare yourself for Warp 10 excitement," which was the tagline for the novelization of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. She also says, "Discover the undiscovered country," which is a reference to Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Tendi has a pod plant with mind control pollen from Omicron Ceti 3, previously encountered in the original series episode, This Side of Paradise. This is the one where when Spock gets hit by this thing, begins laughing. Because the pod plant causes him to lose control of his emotions.
Joy for being a Vulcan.
All of his emotions. Including the ones probably not seen, only being vaguely referenced in the 60s era television show.
Gotcha.
With ladies, obviously.
Live long and prosper.
Indeed. And this wasn't too far from a mock time where those same kind of tensions caused him to fight Kirk. But anyway, when Mariner explains the process of signing up for a Starfleet as a non-commissioned officer, she mentions Starfleet Technical Services Academy. The training facility was first mentioned in an Okudagram readout in the Next Generation episode, Eye of the Beholder. Okudagrams are the things that were put on the screens on the Enterprise D. That obviously were not video, but they needed something to go there. And it was the general design of that little LCARS interface. And it's named after Michael and Denise Okuda, who did most of the designs for the show back then.
You got it.
Just to put that out there. Starfleet accepted Cassidy 8 Sisko's reiteration of Benjamin Sisko visiting her in a vision to explain what had happened to him and his role with the prophets of Bajor going forward. It's quite possible that the logs of Worf, Ezri Dax, Julie Bashir, and Odo, who were present then, or present when Cassidy related her vision to Jake Sisko, contributed to this. This is referring to when they talked about when the truthers asked if the Starfleet's ever going to explain what happened to Sisko. And they say he's working hard in the Celestial Temple, and they go, "Yeah, right," because that's not a temple; it's a wormhole with aliens living inside it. Just don't tell the Bajorans that. You might get punched by Shax.
That's right, he is one.
He's a Bajoran. The items featured at the Collectors Guild booth include a painting done by Data of his cat Spot from the Next Generation episode Inheritance, a Cot board that has been seen on Voyager episode Infinite Regress, the Bajoran Reckoning tablet from the DS9 episode The Reckoning, a Space Fun helmet that was originally a toy that came out during the 60s by Mego Toys and was previously seen in the Lower Decks episode No Small Parts, the Stone of Gaul from the Next Generation episode Gambit Part 2, and 2 Data Bubble Bath mixed bottles last seen in the Lower Decks episode An Embarrassment of Duplers. The way Rutherford's younger self shows him that his memory of how they got their implant and says, "Remember," mirrors the scene from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, where Spock used a mind meld to transfer his Katra into Leonard McCoy. The episode features 6 different Starfleet uniforms, the most to ever appear in a single episode. Basically, it's the Next Generation uniform, the original series uniforms that we see on the the picture standee thing. The Next Generation uniforms, the DS9 uniforms, the Voyager. I'm going to call them the Voyager uniforms because the DS9 uniforms and the post first contact uniforms are seen. The ones with the dark blue thing, and then of course the Lower Decks era uniform, plus the racing uniforms from the Star Trek Voyager episode where they raced the Delta Flyer. I don't remember which episode that was. The computer mentions that Rutherford transferred to the Cerritos on Starbase 56329.4, which would place it between the events of the Voyager episode Endgame, which was that series finale, and Star Trek Nemesis. These are next to each other if you're watching the episodes in chronological order, because there is no Star Trek that takes place between those. And that brings us to the end of the trivia for this. What are your thoughts on this episode?
This is an interesting episode. I love that they go deeper with Rutherford's past
and actually try to explain the implant.
Yeah, and how it malfunctions because it's been malfunctioning most of the season.
It's been malfunctioning since episode 1.
That is true. It has. So, and it starts to explain things a little bit more. Be like, who was Rutherford before the accident? Or was it an accident? Was it sabotage? There again, I don't know what happens at the end of season 3 or season 2 going to season, or this is season 3.
This is season 3. And I will go ahead and tell you that this is an accident that causes him to have to get the implant.
Okay, that's what I thought, because it does imply that at the end of the episode.
An accident does occur in this, and it's why he gets transferred away from what he was working on with them.
Yeah, which there again, I'm intrigued because I don't know who these people are. I don't know their motivations behind it. So I'm going to be like Drew when it came to when we were watching Rapunzel's Tingle Adventure, and you just discover things as they happen. I do have my theory who this mysterious admiral, captain, whoever this guy is. Be like, I'll be like, I think I see him in the next episode. I might be wrong. I might be right. Maybe. But we will discover that when we get there.
Probably is when we talk about the next episode.
Probably.
Just curious if you kept up with the names I said. That's all I want to know. You kept up with it.
But I found that interesting. I found it interesting that it's Rutherford gets basically locked in a coma, and that his personalities have to battle out to figure out who's going to be the one left standing. And I love that there again it gives that revelation to what happened. We don't know everything that happened. I don't. Drew does.
I don't know everything that happened.
Well, what happened?
I will say this: there is
3.
There is some mystery as to what was going on involving all of that.
Yeah. But I found that interesting. The point where I nearly lost it laughing so hard was the point of where they flipped the script is where Mariner and Boimler are trying to the recruit thing, and obviously Mariner is under the gun to get recruitment, otherwise she's going to get booted.
Not to mention act right and not screw up, or she'll get transferred to Starbase 80.
Yeah.
Boimler is under no such restriction.
Right. But I find it's where Boimler is the one who loses it when his little tag or whatever you call that,
his rank pip.
his rank pit, like gets thrown off, and he loses his crap. And I'm sitting there like, and he's like, everybody have it.
Bold Boimler strikes again.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I was like,
But if you really do stop and think about it, it's like, you just crapped on his rank. That is the worst thing you can do to this guy.
that is true.
He will kill you.
It's like, yeah, Mariner, it takes about this much to set her off. Boimler, it takes a lot. Definitely when you start talking about his rank.
And then she's the one that's like, yeah, we're not really supposed to act like that. Well, that gives you the kind of self-confidence I want to join.
Oh yeah, that was even hilarious. And the fact that the number one throws him in the rank, the brig, and
He says, when you get out of here, I'm going to buy you a drink.
yeah, buy you a drink because that was
like,
awesome.
It's like, am I going to get sent to Starbase 80? Are you kidding? That place is a hellhole.
That was great. I love this episode. It was so well done. And you definitely you get more Rutherford, which I'd be like, it's Rutherford.
Yes.
And be like, you get more Tindy a little bit. You get a little Tindy here and there.
Tindy's in the next one.
Yeah, Tindy's definitely in the next episode. That was interesting.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yes, but I like this episode. This was really well done. And yeah, let's get into the next episode.
All right. Next episode. Hear All, Trust Nothing. Directed by Phil Mark Sagadraka and written by Grace Parajani. In this episode, the Cerritos crew unexpectedly spends a day on board the station Deep Space Nine. Fred Tatasciore, who voices Shax normally, also in this episode is voicing Korzak, the delegate from the Gamma Quadrant race.
Right.
Gillian Vigman plays Karama Guard number 2. Carlos Alazraqui plays Les Buenamigo. Marin Dungy plays Wendy. Lauren Lapkus plays Jennifer Schrayen. Jessica McKenna is Barnes and Dabo Girl 1. Gil Ozeri is the Ferengi pit boss. Adam Pally plays Mesk. Gabrielle Ruiz plays Castro. And Tien Tran plays Anya. Special guest stars for this episode, returning from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, we've got Armin Shimmerman as Quark, Nana Visitor as Colonel Kira Nerys, and Morn as himself. Who? Morn. He was there.
Who's Morn?
I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Deep Space Nine is the second major setting to appear in the show, right after Bozeman, Montana. This episode features the return to the station, last seen in 2375 on the Deep Space Nine series finale, What You Leave Behind. Over 6 years later, Kira Nerys is still in command of the station, while many of the Cerritos crew are excited to visit the famed station. Shax refers to DS9 as a tacky Cardassian fascist eyesore, referencing its ominous role in the Cardassian occupation of Bajor. Nana Visitor reprises her role as of Kira Nerys, marking the character's first appearance outside Deep Space Nine. Kira also last appeared in What You Leave Behind. Unlike most characters from the Next Generation era, Deep Space Nine and Voyager eras, who have reappeared in later Star Trek series, Kira still holds the same rank and position that she held during her last major appearance, being a colonel in the Bajoran militia and in command of the space station. Armin Shimmerman reprises his role of Quark, who is still running his bar on Deep Space Nine. Quark last appeared in the Deep Space Nine series finale, What You Leave Behind. With his appearance in this episode, Shimmerman joins the rank of actors who have portrayed the same character in 4 different Star Trek series, as Quark also previously appeared in the Next Generation episode Firstborn, the Voyager episode Caretaker, as well as a cameo ultimately cut from Star Trek Insurrection. Armin Shimmerman in this episode insisted on wearing his old prosthetic teeth when voicing Quark, feeling that they were essential to getting the character to sound right.
Makes sense.
So Quark's bar on Star Trek on Deep Space Nine was intended to be the equivalent of Cheers. And in Cheers, there was a number of characters. One of them that was always had the big entrance, everyone loved him, was the character of Norm. Norm was the drunk who was always there. And so when they made Deep Space Nine and they wanted this to be kind of like Cheers, they decided to create a character that was always going to be at the bar. And they did that by spelling Norm's name backwards or reversing the N and the M. So instead of Norm, it was Morn. Morn has a lot of episodes. It's actually the subject of a couple number of Deep Space Nine episodes.
Really?
The joke is, and I'll get to this more here in a moment, I believe. But despite the fact that we never hear him speak on screen, he's the most talkative person in Star Trek. Anyone who gets into a conversation with him, he will talk their ears off and they will wish they had never said anything.
Oh, okay.
This is even referenced in Star Trek Online when you go to Deep Space Nine as Morn's at the bar in that game. And when you go and try to talk to him, the screen fades to black and it tells you how you sat there hearing him talk on and on and on. You don't even know what he was talking about. But he kept going on about the story and you couldn't find a way to get yourself away. It's a funny scene. Anyway, the title of the episode, Here All Trust Nothing, is the 190th Ferengi Rule of Acquisition. Ferengi Rules of Acquisition are essentially the Ferengi scriptures.
Okay.
They are the rules a Ferengi is supposed to live by in order to get profit. So, and he actually mentions another one in this episode where he mentions another one at the end of the episode. I don't remember what it is. I apologize for that. With the appearance of Visitor and Sherman, this episode marks the first return of the Deep Space Nine characters since their series ended. Although previously a hologram of Odo made an appearance in Star Trek Prodigy episode Kobayashi, although only visible via repurposed lines from the previous appearances, as Rene Auberginois had died before that. All three actors also had reprised their roles in the Victory is Life expansion of Star Trek Online in 2018. Morn, as I said earlier, is sitting at his usual spot at Quark's Bar. The character played by Mark Allen Shepard in Deep Space Nine has now appeared in 96 television episodes of the Star Trek franchise, having never said a word on screen. Indirectly, the episode references... there are indirect references in the episode made to Elam Garrick as a tailor, who was actually a Cardassian spy and a major character. Jake Sisko, Sisko's kid, who was a junior reporter. And Miles O'Brien with O'Brien's Dartboard, who was also that character was also in The Next Generation. And was the character referenced in the last episode when the guy says, "Do transporter chiefs ever end up on the bridge?" And she says, "Well, maybe," because O'Brien, when we first met him, was on the bridge before he became transporter chief. And also, don't forget, O'Brien is the most important man in Starfleet, according to Star Trek Lower Decks. In that one episode. This episode features the return of Vice Admiral Les Buenamigo, who was introduced in the season 3 premiere, Grounded. 2 previously unnamed characters are named in this episode. Nguyen, the captain of the USS Vancouver, who appeared in Cupid's Errant Arrow, and Wendy, who first appeared in No Small Parts. When the Cerritos arrives at the station, Dennis McCarthy's Deep Space Nine main title theme is heard playing. The ship then proceeds to circle around Deep Space Nine as the Bajoran wormhole opens, mirroring the opening title sequence of the series.
Just keep circling.
As Ops is seen in this episode, the command center seems to be exclusively now manned by members of the Bajoran militia. This may indicate that Starfleet has a reduced role in commanding the station, although Starfleet officers such as Mesk are still present on Deep Space Nine. It is revealed that Kira and Shaq served in the Bajoran resistance together during the occupation, frequently saving each other's lives. The Karima and the Karima ship make their first appearance in the Deep Space Nine episode Starship Down, which I believe was a first season episode. I think that was also one of their last appearances too, but I could be wrong there. The Federation's gifts to the Karima are Vulcan Port, which we saw in Deep Space Nine episode The Maquis Part 1, Aldebaran Whiskey from the Next Generation episode Relics, Romulan Ale, first seen in Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, and Galadorian Milk from the first episode of Lower Decks Second Contact. That's the milk the bug creature
That's right.
was sucking Boimler
Yeah.
for, I believe.
Yeah.
This episode reveals that Quarks has expanded his business to a whole franchise with 21 Quarks bars established by 2381. The extension of Quark's business was previously implied through the appearance of establishments in the Star Trek Picard episode Stardust City Rag and the Lower Decks episodes An Embarrassment of Duplers and We'll Always Have Tom Paris. Kira has not forgotten her baseball terminology, first learned as a member of the Niners baseball team and their game against the Logicians in 2375 in the episode Take Me Out to the Holosuite. The baseball Kira is seen holding in her office is a reference to Captain Benjamin Sisko. It is presumably the same one he left behind in the Deep Space Nine episode, What You Leave Behind. When first approaching Tendi, Mesk is shown drinking a Modella aperitif, a layered cocktail Quark prepared for Jadzia Dax in the episode Dramatis Personae. Kirk, Shax, and Rutherford are each shown drinking one at the end of the episode as well, as it's a specialty of the Quark 2000 replicator. Rutherford wanting to sit with his legs dangling off the upper level of the promenade is a reference to the activity that Jake Sisko and Nog used to do watching passengers of various ships disembarking from the airlocks below. Mesk was adopted by humans and raised on Earth, and all he knows of Orion culture is based on holonovels, apparently the very bad ones. This is similar to Worf's background. He too was raised by humans on the planet Galt and on Earth, and only knew what he knew of his culture from reading about it until he actually got to be around Klingons. Although their romantic relationship has blossomed since first contact, Beckett Mariner and Jennifer Schraen share their first on-screen kiss in this episode. This happens while the Cerritos visit Deep Space Nine might not be a coincidence, as their very first kiss between two women in Star Trek was shown in the episode Rejoined between Jadzia Dax and Lenora Khan. It is further established that Mariner previously served on Deep Space Nine during the early to mid 2370s, which was first implied in We'll Always Have Tom Paris. Kira is shown to be friendly and familiar with Mariner, and the junior officer also still has an open bar tab with Quark from her time on the station. Or at least she did, because in addition, Mariner informs Quark that she possesses a copy of that hologram with your head on Kira's body, which was created in the Deep Space Nine episode Meridian in 2371. In that episode, Kira warns Quark that if she ever catches him with a catches him point a holo imager at her again, she would make him eat it. In this episode, Quark ends up eating the chip containing the copy of the Kira program to prevent Kira from finding out what's on it. Although Kira herself was involved in making the alterations to the original hologram, it seems that Quark is embarrassed that Kira might find out that a copy of the program still exists. Tendi explains that she used the Karama security officer's tooth to magnetically decouple the propulsion controls. It has been established in Star Trek lore that latinum is a liquid. The golden strips and bricks used as currency are gold pressed latinum, meaning the valuable liquid suspended inside the block is suspended inside the blocks of worthless gold, because in Star Trek gold is actually worthless because it's so prevalent in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Since the security officer's tooth appears gold, it must have had a small amount of latinum suspended within it. This may have been done as a status symbol, though it is not explained why a Karaman who hails from the Gamma Quadrant would use an Alpha Quadrant currency as a status symbol. Which brings me to the end of the trivia for this. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh, Tendi. Tendi.
Because the idea that Tendi was descended from a pirate clan was referenced in a previous episode where her and Mariner go on a girls' trip to another planet, and they run into a bunch of Orions, or they actually go to a planet that she may have some connections to, and she apparently still has a status among that group of Orions, because they refer to her something. She tells them to shut up. And she definitely still has her skills, as we see in this episode.
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like definitely with the other Orion is they're like, oh, I was raised on Earth, and be like, I knew nothing about it except for bad,
from bad novels, the ones with naked women on the cover.
Yeah,
It's like, of course, that's what you would learn it from.
of course.
Orion
But,
slave
just like
girls
when-
are a thing in this universe.
Yeah, when she goes full Orion and just goes to town, it's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then you get Boimler. Oh my gosh, Boimler with his little purse.
It is a clutch and it's feeling empty. I'm going all in. Brad Boimler is playing Damo, and he wins
So much.
He wins so much money.
The
It's
end of it where
It's like, why take that dirty gold press latinum with you when you could get a gift card for double the price to spend at our gift shop? That's cool because we don't actually use money in the Federation. What? It's like, you should know that.
I thought that was funny. That was great.
Although I do need to get off on a small rant, if I may.
Okay.
I still believe the Federation uses money.
Yeah, I agree. They do.
They have to. It's just, it's not gold press latinum. So of course, quote unquote, Boimler does not have money. But a lot of people are still of the thought that they don't have money. And the biggest, I think I may have gone off on this rant before.
You have.
So I won't go too far into it, but I still believe there's money involved here. And so, yeah, Boimler probably doesn't even think about money because it's very obvious that Boimler probably has the same vast resources as Chateau Picard with his raisin farm.
Yeah.
Apparently grapes make you a lot of money in the Federation.
Apparently.
In one form or another.
Yeah, what was it? Is it grapes or raisins that
What do you
Boimler's
think
doing?
raisins are?
Yeah,
they're dried grapes.
That is true. I was just asking.
It was a raisin
It's
farm.
raisin. That's what I thought.
Technically, Picard's is a winery, but they're both vineyards.
That is so true. Kind of going back to that episode, it was more like all these women are just like hitting on
And
Boimler.
there's still people on the Cerritos. It's like, I think Boimler is cute. I think he's hot. He actually his hair is actually that color? Does he dye it? Like, Mariner, shut them up. please shut them up. I don't want to think about Boimler being sexy. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, that's oh my gosh.
Oh, that whole sequence there in
Oh.
the ship. Here's the thing. The actress who plays Mariner, she was mad at the writer of this episode.
Really?
Because she's a big Deep Space Nine fan. And so the one time they get to go to Deep Space Nine, she ends up having to stay on the ship because the story demands it. And the writer had to say, this is a show. We have to write stories. And we need to have your character have moments with Jennifer and her friends. But because she did express that difficulty, that's why they did put Mariner in the last... they did rewrite the ending so Mariner could get to be on Deep Space Nine, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. Like it was a good episode there again. Mariner being Mariner, it's like, oh, I'm trying to play nice, and then it's just like, oh, just be you, and it's like, oh, you just stun everybody.
I've been looking forward to you tearing these guys a new one all week. It's like, okay,
and it's just like, my gosh.
I was like scared of her.
No, it's just like, yeah, I agree with you. And there again, be like watching this episode, be like, there again, I am not the biggest fan of Mariner. I never have.
Right.
And I understand why she's there. I understand why she gets away with everything. And I understand probably by the end of season 3, she's out of it. She's out of everything. I'm
not talking about the end of season 3.
Yeah. I'm thinking a mass prediction that Mariner is out of Starfleet, off the Cerritos,
right?
And then I'm only estimating that probably season 4, it's like she's probably run off and hangs out with that. I'm
actually, yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, so that's my assumption. And then my assumption is that everybody like, oh, we miss Mariner. We got to get Mariner back. I'm like, just let her go. Please just let her go. I know she's the main character of the show, but I'm like, come on. We have so much better characters here than Mariner, who gets away with everything. And she causes all the problems. So yeah, I'm
not saying anything.
Oh, I know you're not. But you're implying a lot of things.
I've implied a lot tonight that I'm hoping you haven't thought too hard about.
Probably not.
Especially about a couple other characters.
Yes. But it's very telegraphed to be like, yeah, she's gonna kicked out of Starfleet, kicked off the ship, and she's gonna go do something. And then season 3, it's gonna be like, oh, we miss Mariner.
Season 4,
whatever. And then it's gonna be like Search for Spock, but instead we search for Mariner. I'm like,
actually, if we're following the logos, it will be the Voyage Home, because the search.
That's right. It would be
because
the
search
home.
for Spock is kind of this season because of the logos, and plus we did deal with more with Rutherford learning who he was, and that does seem to be a central plot point for this season.
Yes, it is, and that's going to be interesting. I've got an idea, maybe who the dastardly villain who did it. I have an idea. I'm gonna hold off with my thoughts for now.
Okay,
but yeah,
I did forget to mention this is the second episode of the Alito arc.
Second episode.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, got it.
I did forget to mention that, but I would categorize this as the second episode.
Yeah, I'm betting so. Certain characters introduced again. And it's just like, I wonder who this guy is. I wonder who.
I'm just gonna say when I originally watched this season, I did not realize a certain character was in it as much as they are.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was more there again. I think where season 4 is gonna go. It's going to be like everybody misses Mariner. Mariner's off doing some kind of adventure and getting into trouble with it like she normally does. And then it's like everybody like, oh, we miss Mariner. And then you have all these great characters who are having great arcs. It's like we got to go find Mariner and bring her back.
I would say Mariner growing up is the central plot of the series.
I agree with you. I agree.
So I think her character growth in here, where she's forcing herself to stay in line, I think is very is a lot of character growth for her.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. I agree. Like the character has grown, but it's just more. I'm wondering by the end of the series, I'm wondering if she's grown enough. Obviously, it's kind of foreshadowing that she's getting kicked off the Cerritos, and obviously she's getting kicked out of Starfleet. And I'm more like, it's okay. How does that happen if we've got character growth, but at the same time, we know the projection where this character is going?
I'm not telling.
Oh, I know.
I did double check when certain episodes are, because I was curious how far we were away from certain events, but what I was thinking of is going to be on the last week we reviewed, not on the next one. So
gotcha.
Because we only got two more episodes of this TAS review, and then we get into X-Men, which means I get to make another theme song.
Yep.
But
anyways, enjoyed the episode. I am looking forward to see what happens next. What transpires to the end of season 3. And do we know when season 4 is going to pop up?
End of next year.
Okay. 2023.
I believe that's what I remembered saying. I think it's like December of next year is when that is. But my thoughts on this episode.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a Deep Space Nine episode somehow. I don't just mean it takes place on Deep Space Nine. It's like they knew they were going to be on Deep Space Nine, so they kind of wrote it like a Deep Space Nine episode.
Of course.
It would be the return to Deep Space Nine with the look of everything, the sound effects. Because DS9 has always had its own sound effects because it's not using the station is not Federation based for the most part. It is Cardassian. It's designed, so a lot of the Cardassian the sounds of the doors are different, and a lot of the other heck, the sound of the Dabo table brought back nostalgia for me, believe it or not. But the look of everything was immaculately recreated that we got to see. I mean, admittedly, the only areas of Deep Space Nine we got to see was a quick shot of the command bridge, of ops, along with Cisco's old office. That's now Kira's office. And so the minute I saw that baseball, I saw her pick up that baseball, I went, oh. Yeah, he's just right over there. It's no big deal. Of course, we get to see Quarks. That meeting room is one that it looked like the same. They based it on the same set where most of the war council for the Dominion War took place on Deep Space Nine, because that's where a lot of the major fleets met during the show. Was on Deep Space Nine for the war. So it looked like that set, which makes sense. The corridors look like they came straight out of Deep Space Nine. They put so much more work into this episode than they've had to put into so many other episodes to make it look and feel like Deep Space Nine. The only thing they did weird is they had an establishing shot of a sign for Quarks that was not in the show. That shot of the Quark sign there above the bar, that was never shown in the show. And I doubt that that sign was even there in the show. I'm sure that was built in after Quark had a few franchises under his belt. Though I would say it's not needed, if we're being honest, because it's the original Quarks. But so much of I think the fact that Quark, I could tell by listening that Armin Shimmerman was wearing the prosthetic, because he does sound different with the Ferengi teeth in than when you hear him in other things, even though he's essentially using his regular voice. I was like, he sounded just like he did on Deep Space Nine. Kira's gotten a little older. She's gotten a little bit of a rasp in her voice since the end of the Dominion War, but it still felt she still seemed like a good character. There's a lot of little things that add up to making this episode great in terms of what they were doing on Deep Space Nine. This was a great throwback to that season, and the Tendi storyline is just made it all the much better. Because I love seeing Tendi getting to be the pirate queen. I'm assuming she actually is.
Agreed.
I'm assuming she's actually the queen of an entire empire, and she's run away to join Starfleet because she doesn't actually want to run it, or is at least the princess. And maybe at the end of everything, she's going to have to quit Starfleet to take her spot. Amongst the queen and become queen of the Orion Pirates or something. And she's gonna have to, because that's the thing. She's still, she doesn't really accept that part of herself. That's why she ran away to Starfleet in the first place, I think. So that whole part where where she causes the ship to stop right at the mouth of the wormhole, and the tractor beam was a Cardassian tractor beam. That's a weird thing, I know, to gush about, but it was an orange tractor beam. Every other tractor beam we've seen on this show has been blue, but this was the orange one. It's like, yes, thank you. You're following what it's supposed to look like. You've done your homework. Because I've seen so many shows that are part of these things where they try to do flashbacks, older stuff. They just don't put the care in. Star Trek has sometimes not put the care in, especially when they're trying to reimagine what used to be, because who wants to see the 60s television set? That's like we did in all the other episodes of Star Trek where they reshowed the 60s television set in the 90s. But anyway, they just were, it really, despite the fact it was animated, it felt like a Deep Space Nine episode. It felt like they were out on Deep Space Nine. From the second they come out of warp and you see the station, I was like, I'm home. I'm where I was for 7 years between 1993 and 1999 every Wednesday night. Or really Thursday, because we had to record it because I was at church and we'd watch it the next day when we were eating dinner. But beside the point, and there was very few of those episodes I missed, and the few I did were stuff that I didn't need to be seeing at that age. I'll say it that way. But this put so much care into this, and I love all the little cutbacks. This was just the most fun episode for me, and it helps that it's actually a great episode in general, because you didn't know half the stuff I've talked about
Exactly.
with Deep Space Nine, and you enjoyed this episode. So I like how it's a good episode. It fits well and with the attention to detail, and you don't have to know Deep Space Nine to get the episode. So yeah, I really did enjoy this episode. I am kind of hoping we'll get to see more like classic hero ships going forward. The Enterprise E is out there somewhere at this point, because I don't think Picard has stepped down from command of the ship yet. But I could be wrong on that, because I don't remember exactly when he would leave, when he accepted the Admiralty to go start heading up the Save the Romulans plan to get them off before it exploded for Star Trek 2009 to happen. But this was just a great, fun little episode, and I love how Quark got hoisted by his own petard yet again.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part. There again, not knowing a whole lot about Deep Space Nine as a show, I thought it was funny that be like this. What was the alien species that kidnapped Quark?
The Kariman, I think.
Yeah, Kariman. Be like
I don't
kidnap
remember
him.
Yeah,
Be like, we have oh my gosh, they kidnapped Quark, and then we get this whole chase scene, and then they break it down. It's like, oh, Quark actually stole technology from this alien species
and
to make his
and I
replicator.
suspect it was before the Dominion War when he stole it. This Quark's 2000 replicator thing, though, never showed up on the show. So where he got it, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did get this technology from somewhere, and probably it's something Rom cooked up, his brother.
Yeah.
Who would not show up in the show because currently he's Grand Nagus of the Ferengi Alliance, the head honcho, who the Ferengi who did not have the lobes for business by his own admission. Which is probably why it's probably why that Ferengi staff was in the last episode that the archaeologist stole, because he lost it, because Rom would lose that. Sorry, that's a weird thing I just went off on, but I love how I love the relationships we saw between Shax and Kira. That was great. And I loved how Quark really did seem like his old self and falling into the same troubles he had in the show. Because he's not an idiot in the show. He's just an opportunist. And he had an opportunity to use this technology that was probably been over there from the last time they traded, that he couldn't get in touch with them because the Dominion War was going on. And this, because it made it sound like this is the first time those people have been back since that point. So, which is roughly 7-8 years, I think, from the end of Deep Space Nine in universe to this episode. I think 7-8 years. So yeah, anyway,
Gotcha.
So yeah, that brings us, I think, to the end of this episode.
I think so.
Next week, the TAS episode, the Lower Decks episodes we'll be reviewing is A Mathematically Perfect Redemption, featuring the return of Peanut Hamper.
Peanut Hamper.
She was last seen in her only other episode actually was No Small Parts.
Okay.
She was the little android that Tendi was supposed to show around, who bailed on them at the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
You'll remember because they'll show that last scene at the beginning of this next episode.
Got it.
In fact, this next episode does not have the standard Star Trek Lower Decks opening. But the other episode we'll be reviewing next week is Crisis Point 2, Paradoxus. A sequel to Crisis Point, The Rise of Veritas, from the first season.
Oh,
the episode where they made fun of all the Star Trek movies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Now they have to make a sequel, and the sequels are never as good.
True.
Except generally the even numbered movies in Star Trek are better than the odd numbered ones till you get to the Abrams verse, and then it's backwards. Beside the point. Join us next week for that, plus our look at the small one. And in the meantime, though, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
Okay, we just got be like D-Face 9. We're almost 15 minutes. It's been 3 hours, man. Like, why did you have to go play that game for 3 hours, man? Come on.
What are you talking about? It's only 11:55. It's been 11:55 for the past hour. 3 hours.
Oh my gosh, time dilation. What's going on?
We got all the time in the world. We got time to kill. Ha 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 ha.